Shalom, shalom, everyone. What a great season it is to remember the true Yahusha, our Passover lamb. The Word himself. The Word being made up of the seed, which is everything from the El to the Ta, who is Yahuwah. Yahuwah who came to rescue us. What a time we live in, and what a beautiful Passover season that we are in the midst of. I truly hope it finds everyone examining and re-examining and drawing nigh unto Messiah. Today I'd like to take a look at us as trees. Are we trees? We are trees. Are you a tree? Are we going to be a tree? What's the function of a tree? Praise Yah. I'm going to start with a prayer. Yahuwah Elohim, the breath of life, the living water, the El to the Ta, the chief shepherd, the high priest, the King of kings, the master of masters, the lamb that was slain. Yahuwah our Father, we thank you, Yah, for coming to rescue us. We thank you, Father, for the beautiful pictures that you've painted for us in your word, that we might draw deep and close to you, might draw nigh unto you. We might draw close to you through the picture that you've painted of your love for us. Hallelujah. In your precious mighty name, Yahuwah, who came to rescue us. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. All right. Praise Yah. We're going to start out, and we're going to hope the volume holds out this time, at Ezekiel 4:12. And this is the verse we're going to focus in on, and then we're just going to take off from here. Praise Yah. And by the bank of the stream on both sides grow all kinds of tree used for food, whose leaves do not wither and fruit do not fail. They bear fruit every new moon, because their water flows from the set-apart place. That's some water to drink, eh? And their fruit shall be for food, and their leaves for healing. Those are the verse. That's the verse we're going to hone in on. But we're going to read from Ezekiel 4:1 to 4:12, that being the last verse in this section here. Because you got to have context. Because if you ain't got context, you could just say anything you wanted. How many of us have played that game before? All right, Ezekiel 47. I hope I said 47, verse 1. Well, and this is when Ezekiel was seeing the temple of the millennial reign. He went around, and the whole temple was measured, and he saw all the bits and parts and pieces and pictures that were in there. And so now we're here to chapter 47. And he turned me back to the door. This was the one that was showing him around the temple. And he turned me back to the door of the house. And look, water was flowing from under the threshold of the house toward the east. My assumption with that was living water. I don't even think we need to call it an assumption. It's coming from under the throne of Yahuwah Elohim. There is nothing defiled, muddy, stagnant, dirty in this water. For the house faced east, and the water was flowing from under the right side of the house. From the south of the slaughter place. And he led me out by way of the north gate, and took me around on the outside of the outer gate facing east. And look, water trickling out on the right side. As the man went out to the east, and with the line in his hand, he measured 1,000 cubits Oh, I hope I don't start flustering words already. And he made me pass over into the water. Water to the ankles. The water of the Word. The living Word was washed over the entirety of his walk. The entirety of his feet were covered in the living water. And he measured 1,000 and made me pass over into the water. Water to the knees. The knee is what we bend before Yahuwah Elohim. The water was up to the knees, the place where we would bend over and bless Yahuwah Elohim, our Master. This can only happen to those that are in the family of heads. Barak. And he measured 1,000 and made me pass over water to the loins, completely covering the place where the seed would come from in the loins, like the belt of truth. What is truth? Yahuwah is the truth. The Word is the truth. Everything from the L to the Ta in its proper order is the truth. We'll call it the quote-unquote DNA per se. And he measured 1,000 and made me pass over into water. And he measured 1,000, a stream that I wasn't able to pass over. For the water had risen. The water rose. Water to swim, a stream that is not passed over. Because we're still in the millennial reign. There's not a complete passing over until after that 8th great day. And he said to me, Son of man, have you seen this? And he led me and brought me back to the bank of the stream. When I returned, then look, along the bank of the stream were very many trees, on one side and on the other. Are we trees? And he said to me, these waters are flowing towards the eastern country and go down into Arba. Arba is a dry desert because the living water is going to go down and quench that which is dry and thirsty, that of the dry desert that would accept it, and enter the sea, being made to flow into the sea, and the waters shall be healed. The waters are a picture of those that are still, that didn't make the first resurrection, that are not the kings and priests, the trees along the bank of Yahuwah Elohim, those that allowed the whore of Babylon to be amongst them, as we see in Revelation. And the sea was the sea of people. That was the sea of Babylon. There's still those out there that'll need healing. They'll still have those doctrines and dogma and that which they fully didn't get rid of, but it can be healed by the living water. We know they're going to come to the Mount Zion to get the Torah during the millennial reign. The water's going to go out and heal that of the sea which would want it. Let's see. And it shall be that every swarming creature, wherever the stream goes, shall live. And there shall be very many fish. What are we supposed to be? Fishers of men. What are we supposed to use to fish for the men? The Word, the water. They're in the water. What do you catch them with? The Word. If you're catching them with anything else, you might as well just throw it out. You might be making him twice the son of Gehenna as you are. For these waters shall go there, and they are healed. And wherever the stream flows, all shall live. And it shall be that fishermen stand along it, from Engedi to Englaim, being places for spreading their nets. Their fish is to be of the same kind as the fish of the great sea. Very many. Like kind after like kind. Its swamps and marshes shall not be healed. They shall be given over to salt. They don't want to be healed. Swamps and marshes are just love the mud and the mire that they're in to begin with. They don't want any clean, clear, fresh living water. They like to be stagnant and dirty. Lots of bugs, snakes. Thus says the Master Yahuwah. Oh, no, that's where I'm stopping. No. And by the bank, I'm going to read verse 12. And by the bank of the stream, because that's the verse we're going to do, I guess we better read it. And by the bank of the stream on both sides grow all kinds of trees used for food, whose leaves do not wither. Are you a tree whose leaves are withering? Have withered? What's up with that? And fruit does not fail. We producing good fruit? They bear fruit every new, because their water flows from the set-apart place. Boy, that must be some good water to produce that kind of fruit and keep their leaves from withering. It's probably got a lot of nutrients in it, too. And their fruit shall be for food, and their leaves for healing. Praise Yah. What a picture. The trees are on this side, and they're on that side. They're on the north, and they're on the south, because that's the sides that the priestly chambers are on, the north and the south. Okay. Let's take a look at this verse. Hopefully we still got volume. Ezekiel 47:12. I'm going to pull it up in the e-sword because I didn't have time to make a slide for each of these. My hope is that each of you have downloaded e-sword. It's a free download. You have downloaded inside of the e-sword all the resources that you can, and that you have gone to Bible support, I don't remember if it's .net or .com, created an account and downloaded the Ancient Hebrew Lexicon into it. And that way you can follow along and you can see how this works for yourself. You can do this for yourself. Time is short. These are things we should have been doing for a long time, is digging into the depths of this word. But the adversary has went on the quote proverbial door of our flesh and had us so distracted, thinking at the brainstem level as opposed to the prefrontal cortex, critically thinking about those things that would be of Yah. So here's our numbers here. We're going to head, oh, I don't know what's up next. Better check that out first. Yeah, we're not going there. Ezekiel 47:12. Again, I'm going to pull it up in the e-sword. And as I have said in the past, for you that watch, and you might see some titles in this version. This is a King James version. You might see some titles that we as a community ought not be using. But it's the only way I can get the Strong's numbers on here. So, if somebody has something that'll go in the e-sword that would use the proper names, oh, please let me know. That has the Strong numbers next to it, oh, please. Please send me an email. All right. We're going to be by the river. The word by is Hebrew 5921. It goes to the Ancient Hebrew Lexicon 1357 AN. And here you know that you have that because you have your 5921 at AN. Of course, we see the definition is above or upon, but we've got above. These are all the words it's been translated to in the King James. I'm not even going to read them to you. See all that? Come on now. So at this, we have the ayin right here, which is the I, because we read from right to left. Watch, understand, experience, know, like intimately know. And we have the lam, which is the shepherd's staff, which is a rod which can correct, teach, instruct, yoke, because I used the yoke for the shepherd himself. Here at the A child root, we have the same ayin lam. The action is to raise. At the two-letter parent root, we still have the two. We're in the two-letter parent root here. This is the two letters here. The action is to work. The concrete is to yoke. The pictograph ayin is a picture of the eye representing knowledge and experience. The lam is a picture of a shepherd's staff or yoke. Combine these mean experience the staff. The yoke of staff is lifted up over the shoulder, is attached to the oxen for performing the work. So by the river, by this river, these trees that are by this river have experienced the staff, fully enveloped in the instructions, totally ayin, intimate with the shepherd. Otherwise, they would not be the ones planted there by these streams of water. It would not be happening. They would not be the ones to be taking the message out to the nations during the millennial reign. So they're by this river. These are intimate with the shepherd, experienced the instructions, the staff of correction, the staff of teaching. They are by the river. The action is to inherit. The concrete is inheritance. They're the kings and priests. Their inheritance is going to be Yahuwah himself at the marriage supper of the Lamb. They're going to be the bride. Because they have in this age been intimate with the shepherd. By the river, upon the bank. They get to be by the river. They get to be upon the bank, again, because they have been intimate with the shepherd. So, they're by the river upon the bank. The river of the living water of life which flows has to be. Well, we're going to see, that's in Revelation. We'll read that later. Has to be in the millennial reign if it's going to be flowing from underneath the throne. Can't be anything other than living water. And why are these trees that have experienced the staff, been intimate with the shepherd, why are they on the bank? Why are their roots go deep in the bank? So the living water can go up into them? 81, where'd my mouse go? 8193 is the bank. 1339 AN1 is the ancient Hebrew lexicon number. We see it right here from right to left. We see a sin, which is a thorn, which can mean to grab, hate, pierce. It can be a turning, grab hold of. We see the pay, which is the mouth. Scatter, blow, edge. Of course, you speak words with the pay. The hay is a little man with his arms raised. Eek. Look, behold, see, man, can mean breath. So we see here it's a lip, the lip or edge of something, also language spoken from the lips. Comes from the two-letter child root here, which is the same as the parent root. The concrete is lip. And at the two-letter parent root, the sin and the pay, the action is to gather. All these trees are gathered on either side of the bank. The concrete is the lip. The pictograph sin is a picture of a thorn representing turning. The pay is a picture of a mouth. Combine these mean turning mouth. The rim are lips of the bowl, which circle around it. The bowl is used for gathering things together and for eating. This right here is our root line for the pure. This is the pure. This is the language that's mentioned in Zephaniah. They are planted on this bank in the soil where Yahuwah planted his seed in the earth. You think there's any bad seed down in there that they're sucking up? And I'm not talking about there's more seeds down there they're sucking up in this dirt. They're drinking of the living water, and they're pulling in the seed of Yahuwah, the DNA, everything from the El to the Tav, because the word is made up of everything to the El to the Tav. They have done that because they have been intimate with the shepherd, because they have experienced the staff. They are pulling that up into the tree, because we are trees. We are told we're trees in Scripture. We'll see that. We're trees. We are trees. We are these trees on the north and on the south. Intimate with the shepherd. Drinking in the water through the roots. Because what was planted in us? The seed. It took root. Because it drank of the living water, and it was allowed to be nourished by everything from the El to the Tav. We see it as a picture of wheat in a stalk. We're just looking at a tree. It's that simple. Because we're not producing good fruit any other way. We don't have leaves that would heal any other way. Because all our righteousness is as filthy rags. It's got to be all Yahuwah. Taking in the pure language, the breath that he breathed. Intimate with the shepherd and they were on the bank. They were planted there. That bank by the river is for those who have turned, the trees, and those, because we are trees, that have turned towards what has been breathed from the mouth of Elohim, and they have fully received the revelation of that. They've taken it in, and they've all through the fullness of their tree of yourself. You've taken it all in. Everything you think, everything you do, the filter that comes in your eyes, what comes out of your mouth, you've taken that all in. So you can be that tree. And by the river upon the bank thereof, on this side and on that side, on the north and on the south, again, where the priestly rooms are, on the north and on the south, on this side and on that side, someone or something that is prominent, something that stands out is prominent or is pointed out. You see, they got harvested. Why? They got harvested because they received the revelation of Yahuwah Elohim. They beheld him, and they beheld nothing else. And when he returned at that harvest, when he was revealed, they were made like him. What seed's been planted in us? What have we let grow to fruition? On this side and on that side, these trees grow. Shall they grow? I think they're already grown. I don't think they need to grow anymore. Are we still growing now as trees? Yes. Yes. Because anyone that says he does got no sin, he's a liar and the truth ain't in him. But are we filling up to be firm, strong, mature trees? Grow. Oh, look what root line we're at. How are we going to grow? By being intimate with the shepherd. 1357 HV. We have the ayin, the lamb, and the hay. The first definition, rise, to go, come, or bring oneself or something up. Anybody going to be like brought up in that day to be in that first resurrection? I understand the word for resurrection is kum. But have you risen to the occasion? Taken the time to let those roots go strong and deep so that you can rise up and be a strong tree in this age? As you might be lifted up then in the resurrection. There you go. That's how to say it. Oh, look. Would you look at that? The action is lift. There you have it. The lifting of the yoke onto the shoulder. Are you yoked to him? Are you yoked to everything that the living water is giving you as nutrients? Planted, spreading your roots deep and strong in the soil and taking up the seed of Elohim? The rest of that definition is for another word. It's this uncover word right here. Okay, you can look that up later if you want. So here we have these ones that have grown. What have they been? Why were they planted by the river upon the bank? Why are they grown up? Because they've been... How many more times does he need to say it in this verse? I think there's another time he's going to say it. Because they've been intimate with the shepherd. They've experienced the staff. They've received the revelation. And when he came, when he was revealed, they were made like him. They were lifted up on the day of the first resurrection. These growed up trees, there's more than one, on this side and on that side, exist, and the word hayah is not there, I understand that. These growed up trees, whole bunch of them, 1242 JN. All these trees. Pardon me, you think I was getting sick or something? Don't get me started. JN. All. The action is sustained and the concrete is food. All these trees are being sustained and have been sustained by the living water. The nutrients that come in from the soil. That's their food. Well, they're going to give off food, but we'll see that in a minute. Okay. The two-letter root is the cough. That's the hand. It's the palm or the hand. It can mean bend, tame, allow, cover, bless. And the lam, which we've already discussed, is the shepherd's staff again. Teach, instruct, yoke, can be a rod like of correction. It's the shepherd himself. These trees, every single one of them, are complete. Concrete is vessel, the abstract is whole. They're complete whole vessels. Right there. They have made themselves. Well, let me not say they've made themselves. Yeah, let me say that they have, because just because he chooses, here goes a soapbox, people. Just because he chooses doesn't negate the fact that we need to do everything that we need to do to be chosen. Doesn't matter if he knows who he chooses. You don't know. I don't know. We still need to do everything that has been laid out before us to ensure that we're chosen. If we're not chosen, who are you to say, oh man, what the potter should do to the clay? Who are we to say? You know, I used to think how cliche is that robot thing that they would say. Well, he doesn't want robots. Look at what day we live in today. Get you an AI, baby. All right? Do we love him? Do we love him because we love him? And if he chooses to choose us, oh, what a great day that'll be. Just because he chooses, we don't stop loving. Okay, off the soapbox. The pictograph cough. Quit laughing, Steph. The pictograph cough is a picture of the bent palm representing the bending or subduing of the will. The lam is a picture of a shepherd's staff or yoke. Combined, these mean tame for the yoke, or bent their will to the shepherd's instructions. You tame for the yoke. All these trees are tame for the yoke. They're complete whole vessels. An animal or land that is tamed has been worked and is complete and ready for use. complete and ready for use of the shepherd now, some, but definitely in the millennial reign. But yes, now too. How many more layers of this onion of ourselves do we need to peel back? Taming includes construction of holding pens, putting the soil to the plow, the soil of the heart. Harvesting of crops, milk or meat one eats once the harvest is complete. Are we going to be that complete whole vessel as kings and priests in the millennial reign? That is a picture of the trees we're about to read about, so that we can eat once the harvest is complete, so that we'll be the bride once the harvest is complete. Because as you can see in this root line, is the bride. These trees that make it by the banks of the river during the millennial reign are going to be the bride. It's just that simple. So let's see what these trees are about. We are trees. What kind of fruit are we producing? And there are leaves. Are they withering or not? Taking a look at the tree. Great. 6086 in the Strong's. 1363 AN in the Ancient Hebrew Lexicon. If you don't have an Ancient Hebrew Lexicon, I understand the time is short. Is everything 100% correct in here? No. It's not correct in any book we got. Nothing is. This, however, right here, by Jeff Benner. I understand the time is short. Jeff Benner. What are you going to do with the rest of it? Most people are sitting at home now. I understand there's a need to get some things in line before things, continue to go downhill, shall we say. There is no better way to spend your time. 1363 AN. It's wood, a tree, or the wood from a tree. We see it's an ion. And we got that eye. We got some intimate stuff going on with these trees all over this verse. And a Zod, which is a man on his side, which is a trail, a hunt, a journey, a man on his side. The concrete is tree. The upright and firmness of the tree. Upright, straight. Upright, strong, majestic. And firmness of the tree. Ain't the wind's going to blow over. There can be some wind and wave of doctrine going to blow that tree over and snap it. It's an upright and firm tree. The leaders of the tribe. Says the elders of the tribe. Okay. I'm going to say the leaders. Those who would lead you down this straight path to be so that you yourself could be an upright and a firm tree in the order of the King of Righteousness, with Yahuwah Elohim as your high priest. They are firm ones making decisions and giving advice. Whose advice are we taking? Whose decisions are we following? Most people, and I say this not to belittle anyone, because I have resembled this remark, and in areas of my life, I can still resemble this remark. Most people are so busy thinking at an emotional, rushed brainstem level that the prefrontal cortex critical thinking is gone. And because someone says it, they do it. Too busy too distracted, too thinking at the brainstem level. Some people would call it dumbed down. Okay, I can go with that. But I think there are much more mature ways we can talk about this. What's at the forefront of our mind? Anything at all? Are the thoughts of emotional thinking? Not that we shouldn't have emotions and emotions aren't good, and this is not what this is about. Is it just la-di-da? That's great, here we go. Who are we listening to? Ones who critically think and look at all sides of everything, even if they don't like it, before they make a decision. Maybe I don't like what you said. Maybe that offends me. Maybe that's the way I've never done it. So what? So what? We need to be listening to those that have looked at everything from every angle they possibly could. Now, did they miss an angle? Don't we all? Who's giving us advice? Someone thinking with their brainstem, or someone that's going to have the name of Yahuwah written on their forehead because he is at the forefront of their mind and they're critically thinking through everything? Got these lenses, got this frontlet, so that when it comes in our eyes, we immediately compare it to the commands that he's given us and what we see going on around us and the examples that we've seen. These trees, again, have been intimate, fully intimate with him, and are on the narrow path, on the narrow trail. They're not to the left, they're not to the right, they are on the path, on the trail. Are you a tree? I want to be a tree. These growed up trees, all of them are for meat. Here we are again. And this actually, the better definition is food, because we know like steak doesn't grow on a tree. All right? Stop it, Sylvia. Meat, 1242 CA. Here we go. Food. Food. What are we feeding people to eat, and who are we feeding from? Through sustenance, one becomes whole and satisfied. We got life through what we're eating. Or are we eating something that's rotten that's going to make us sick? Those trees that have bent their will to the instructions and become intimate with the shepherd, they have bent their will towards the shepherd, have good food to eat. And they have these leaves. Now look at what's going on. Here we are again. If intimacy isn't all over this verse with this ion, I'm sure there are other verses out there like this. I've never ran into one. That doesn't mean they're not there. I haven't studied every word in every verse. Man, come on now. We need to get intimate with this language. Okay, we have these leaves that are not going to fade. These leaves that high in the tree, they're lifted up there on the tree that was resurrected. They've been lifted up in the resurrection. But the leaves are high in the tree. Why are they high in the tree? I don't know. Maybe we should ask those people building towers everywhere. Maybe they'd like them to be on the ground. I bet they would. Maybe they'd like them to be under the ground. I bet they'd love that even more. All right, that's enough out of me. We'll get to that in just a minute or two here. See these leaves? These leaves have been intimate with the shepherd and are giving off the breath. The breath of who? The breath of what he breathed. Because they have brought in through their strong root system the living water through the bank where they got the DNA of the language that came and made them strong, firm, upright trees. Up they went, and out came the leaves so they could give off the breath, the oxygen, that which causes us to breathe. The breath, what we breathe, gives life to others if it's of Yahuwah Elohim. It's like the oxygen coming out of the leaves. What a picture of what we see today. Where'd the oxygen go? Somebody don't want us to have it. Physically or spiritually. I'm sure none of us needs to really guess at who that is. These leaves have been intimate with the shepherd and give off the breath, the oxygen of life. And they're not going to fade because they're strong, upright trees, right? Because they're in the rain. They ain't going to fade. The word not, 1254 JN. Here we are, 3808, 3808. To have what you are without. It's the Lam and the El. To be without anything such as nothing. It's the opposite of El. The word not is the opposite of El. So if you're not going to fade, you've got El. If you're going to fade, you don't have El. They're not going to fade. They've got El. They're without fading. No part of fading is in these leaves. None. Because they've been intimate with the shepherd and they're giving off the breath, the oxygen. They are not going to wear out or fade away. These leaves will not. You can do all you want in the physical to the trees. You can suck the oxygen out of the air. You can move the tree. You can disease the tree. But these trees, this is a picture. This is a picture. These strong trees would be deceived if that were possible. Possible is not possible. If they weren't warriors in the family of heads that were ready for the harvest, that were going to be the trees that were planted by the water, that came out from underneath the throne. Good grief. These ones have not been deceived because it's not possible. But he'd like for them to be. He wants to lead all the world astray. And he's got a big group in that all right now. All that would be led astray are being led astray. They are dying. The oxygen is being sucked out of the air. Okay. The leaf's not going to fither. I like that. That's a new word. We got to put that in our dictionary. The leaves are not going to fade. They're not going to wither. Neither shall the fruit be consumed. Why won't it be consumed? Because the fruit that they're giving off is the fruit that's good for food, to make people worthy to be the bride or the seed after her that might be in the second resurrection. Neither shall the fruit, HF, fruit. To my one friend out there, if you see this, and you probably won't, this would be Tutti Frutti. We have a pay. No, I don't know why we've got a hey here and a yod here. I'm just gonna let that go for now. Got no idea what they did to these letters. Ask Akiba. Comes from the two-letter parent root peresh, which is the mouth. Again, we've talked about that. And the resh, which is the head or head of a man. First, top, beginning, think. The action is to tread. The concrete is bull, and the abstract is fruitful. The pictograph pe is a picture of an open mouth. The resh is a picture of a head. Combine these mean open the head. The heads of grain are scattered on the threshing floor, a smooth, hard, and level surface. An ox is led around the floor, crushing the heads, opening them to reveal the seed inside. If people are eating this fruit, is the seed that's inside going to be the seed of Yahuwah? Is it going to be the El to the Ta when they eat the fruit, because that's the seed inside, because it produced like kind after like kind? Also, the fruit of the trees that are harvested. The fruit on the tree. What seed did it come from? What nutrients is it sucking up out of the soil? What is it drinking? Are the roots deep and strong? Is it firm, tall? This fruit that I just spoke of shall not be consumed. Oh my goodness, BV. Here we've got whole. Tamam, that's where we get tamim, it's where we get mature, perfect, mature word. Someone or something that is whole, complete, or full. We need to go back to the Strongs and look at this definition. To complete in a good or bad sense. This fruit is not going to be rotten fruit. It's not going to come to its completeness and be rotten. It's not going to be rotten fruit. It just doesn't mean that someone's not going to eat it. That's not what that means. If it's a whole, complete fruit, they're going to eat it. We're going to be feeding the people still. It shall bring forth new fruit. (2016) first fruits, to be born or to bear the first fruits. There's still time for people to be first fruits. We're trees now. We've either got good fruit or rotten fruit. When we get to that point in time of Yehezkel's temple in the millennial reign, those trees are only going to have good fruit. There's not going to be any rotten fruit on those trees. Impossible. And not be in the king, not be by the streams of living water on those banks. Not happening. But right now, and this is another picture of bringing forth first fruits. He was the first fruit. Not our choice if we bring forth a first fruit. Of course it's not. But if these people are feeding off of this, right now, if we are these strong trees planted by the streams of living water that are on the bank, that are sucking up the pure language, and we're righteous and firm, and we're giving out advice and making decisions that are based on Yahuwah Elohim, and we're growing up strong, and our leaves are giving off the breath of oxygen, other people are going to hear that. They're going to see our action, because sometimes actions speak louder than words. And they might come into the point where they're first fruits that are in the basket as well. Here we have a bait, a cough, and a resh. The first fruits of the crop are the womb. It comes from the bait het, bach, bachar. The first fruits being the choicest. This is where we get chosen. We are a chosen people. We are a royal priesthood. When you feed these people that, they have a chance of being in the royal priesthood in the first resurrection. Chosen. He chooses. But if we don't feed them what needs to be fed, and we don't feed on that ourselves, how's he going to choose us? It doesn't negate the fact we need to do what we need to do, and it shouldn't make us want to do it any less. According to his months, the first crescent of the moon is a renewal of the moon, the first day of the month. There you have your calendar, one of your calendar arguments. We ain't going there. According to his months. Because the water that these trees were drinking up, planted by the bank, through their strong root system, this water Memhe, this water that issued out from underneath the sanctuary, watered them, allowed them to suck up with their roots the revelation of him. This is not the water of the whore that Babylon is among. This is the water coming out from under the sanctuary. Something that is unknown can also be why, when, how. It feeds us every who, what, when, where, why, and how. That mem was a questioning word to the Hebrews because they didn't know what was on the other side of the water. It's giving us every who, what, when, where, why, and how. It's the revelation of him that it's giving us in that living water. Why? So it can go up and all the way out, and it can give fruit to the people that need it and breathe forth the oxygen through the leaves. Because they're waters, they issued out. $13.92 LV. They issued out. To go, come, or issue out. An issuing out of one place or another. The action is issue, the concrete is excrement. The zod is a picture of a man laying down on his side or squatting to issue out of something. These waters that issue out from under the sanctuary. At this point, these waters never had any excrement in them. I can tell you that for sure and for certain. The water of life has absolutely no dung in it. For sure. And not happening. So that which is issuing out from underneath the throne is pure, holy, righteous. Might get the excrement out of us, but it ain't got no excrement in it. It issues out from him and him alone. And we as trees, are we a tree? Get to drink of it in our roots, going down, making them stronger. Issued out of the sanctuary. The set apart place. The action is set apart. The concrete is prostitute. There's no prostitute there. It's just the exact opposite of the waters. It's what it's telling us. That's not what's there. The abstract is special. Set apart from the rest for a special function. It comes from Chad. And the fruit, we've already seen that, exists. The fruit exists because he exists. Everything is made by him and through him and for him. Everything that is pure, righteous, holy, lovely, and of good report. The fruit on those trees exists as food. Right now, food to have people come in to be the bride. And at that point, it is, and it's still the food being given of the bride, but there won't be a chance for the second resurrection people to come in as a bride. It's the way it is. So it's kind of a two-part thing. Right now, it's food for the people that we would feed them, that the bride would feed them. Those that will be the bride would feed them, that they might come in and also be part of the bride. But at the point where we get to the first resurrection, it'll just be food to bring them in. Just to bring them into so they don't go to eternal death in the second resurrection. And the leaf, this leaf of those that were intimate with the shepherd, giving off the breath, giving off the oxygen, that is for medicine. That is for healing. 1454J, I1, medicine, Resh, Wa, Pei. The wah is that tent peg. Add, hook, secure, join. The action is to pulverize. The concrete is medicine. Sometimes they call that a nail. Comes from the resh pay. The action is heal. The concrete is medicine. The abstract is sick. The pictograph resh is a picture of the head of man. The pay is a picture of an open mouth. Combine these mean man open. Wounds, sicknesses, and illnesses are cured with medicine made from plant materials which are pulverized in medicinal powder. The breath of life. Yahuwah himself, who wrapped himself in his word, which was made flesh, the fullness of Elohim bodily, was pulverized for our wounds, our sicknesses, and our illnesses, that we might live. And the following of his commands to endure to the end, because he showed us how, for the love of his bride, when he was tempted in the wilderness, and he laid it all out in the Torah and the Torah. What oxygen are we breathing off to people? Are we like Paul? I know, the only thing I aim to know is Yahusha and him crucified. It covers all those things. The testimony of Yahusha and the following of his commands. These people can't be healed without it. Nobody can be healed of their sin sickness without the breath, without the oxygen, which breathed out the word, which is made up of everything from the El to the Ta, which comes from the living water. I mean, should I run through the whole scenario again? We're supposed to be these trees. And isn't that beautiful? Isn't that beautiful, the way that Yahuwah has laid this out for us? It's a picture. It's a picture. His whole word is a picture. Can we see the picture? If you look around now, we're going to look around at what the enemy's doing. Because when you get all into what the enemy's doing, don't get into all in what I've been there, done it, so I get it if you get there for a little bit of time. Some of us get there longer than others. Get it. Get it. Try not to get stuck there. It's there. It's around. I'm not saying don't be aware of it. Paul was aware of it. Yahushua was aware of it. They all came against it. Some of them did it in a form that was not so straightforward. Sometimes it was straightforward. It just depended on what the situation called for. There's examples of both. Now I forgot where I was going with that. Oh, yeah. So if you're aware of what the enemy's doing that's around you, and you see it, you can flip that around and you can say, oh, well, they're doing that, so that means Yahuwah must have said to do this. And that's the way that works. So we're going to go on here, and we're going to take a look-see here at I'm going to read some papers now from websites and documents and this kind of thing. And I'll try to link them in the... If y'all just want to hold on 1 minute, just a second. Come on in.
I don't know if you're recording important or...
All right. Sorry about that. So, we're going to take a look at what's going on around us and see why we should be these strong, upright, firm trees and what the enemy's up to and who he's trying to take out. Like everybody? It wouldn't be after his seed, maybe? All right. So we're going to go to these articles, and I'm going to tell you what they are. And then, no, come here. I hope I didn't just take one of the articles out that I wanted. Cancel. Yep, sure did. Okay, just a minute. I'm going to have to go find it again. Oh, maybe not. No, that's not it. Oh, maybe I can find it this way. Well, whatever. I'm still going to find it. That's not it. Okay, I'm going to look through these because I'm not going to give you guys the wrong one. I don't need that one. I need that one. Yeah, we need that one. Okay, this one comes from a website called globalpossibilities.org. It's called Weaponizing the Frequencies, the Coming Tidal Wave. This says Waking Times. I'm going to assume that is the magazine, the article, the website that this came from. Psychotronic millimeter wave weaponry is coming to a street near you with the potential to unleash disease on a mass scale. Again, I will try to put these articles or these websites, their links are still there and down in the description box, and if you can't find something and you know me and you need it, email me. Okay, let me start that again. Psychotronic millimeter wave weaponry. Let me make sure my volume's still going here, because if I record this again, okay, is coming to a street near you with the potential to unleash disease on a mass scale, right? Welcome to the new 5th generation of Wi-Fi called 5G. And we're going to go a little bit deeper than it's just 5G. We're going to talk about a whole spectrum of things. But we're going to start with this. So don't think this is all we're going to talk about, because I know a lot of you have heard this. But it's way deeper and way more than this. It's not just this one frequency. It's a whole plethora of combination of things. Welcome to the new 5th generation of Wi-Fi called 5G, where the speed to send full-length, high-definition movies to your iPad is 10 times faster, because that's what we need, more of that garbage. The consequences. The need for speed has the consequence. Just a minute. Okay. That's for you, Dilbia. That's not going to happen often now. The need for speed has the consequence of going from moderate to severe health effects in record time. Seen it lately? Record time. Note that 4G operates at 2.5 gigahertz. I'm not so sure I believe that, but I can't prove that. That there's not other stuff going on. Or oscillates about 2.5 billion times per second. This frequency mimics water molecules in your body. Oh, that interesting. And was chosen specifically for broadcasting services and equipment under government license. This means that all company products must meet this frequency or be deemed illegal. For what purpose is matching the human body's frequency, you may ask? What's the purpose, other than for weaponizing? That's a good question. The higher frequencies of 5G to 100 gigahertz and beyond. So it's already planned for. It's right there. You think somewhere places it's not already active and they're not using stuff? Come on now. These will use small-scale wireless refrigerator-sized boxes placed in front of every 2 to 10 homes on every street in every city. Well, I got an inkling they might reach a little further than that for some purposes. As you watch the latest Hollywood flick, you will bask unaware in microwave emissions that oscillate at the same rate as your blood and oxygen molecules. So what would be the purpose for that? These frequencies can cause burning sensations on your skin, impact fertility, as well as alter the electrochemical waves of your brain to affect consciousness. Oh boy, do they want that. They've got bits and pieces of it. They'll never be able to combinatorially optimize their randomness to get the perfection of Yah when it comes to that. And I'm grateful that we serve a mighty Elohim. Awaiting 5G installation. It's the title of the next section. Secret testing, and I couldn't tell you anything about it because apparently it's a secret, of 5G emissions made its debut during the 2018 Olympics. If you believe that, I got some swampland for you. Okay, there's a bunch of stagnant water there. It ain't living. If you believe they didn't test this till 2018, I got some swampland. Bitter water. And then again at the 2018 Super Bowl, where over 67,000 people were part of a stress test without their consent. Right? Anybody else given consent yet? At any time? Soon, the 5G antenna networks will be beta tested in 19 U.S. cities, including San Francisco, Los Angeles, Jacksonville, and San Jose. Could be anywhere else. I got no idea. I'm not going to go around and look for every 5G box, and I'm not going to dig into it any further. It's everywhere. High-frequency 5G signals travel shorter distances and are easily blocked by buildings and trees. I don't know. A lot of people don't have a problem getting it in their buildings, so I don't know what they're talking about. That's ridiculosity, but definitely by trees. What is the point? Why create new technology that takes humanity in reverse? No time for answers. It's full speed ahead to remove the obstacles that block the signals. This reminds me of, they paved paradise and put up a parking lot. I used to like that song. Because it was just what I saw going on, not because I liked that they paved paradise and put up a parking lot. It was everywhere. It was just true. Now it's truer than ever. Direct fires and poisoning trees. Many people in California report that the extensive weird fires are destroying trees and leaving homes untouched. Everything does not burn. At other times, the metal of cars and rails burned with the leaves on the trees, leaving the tree trunks and kindling. Could these unusual fires be the result of lasers from directed energy weapons? Maybe you've never heard of that. Go look it up. Whole forests have been devastated down straight lines, obeying fence lines, taking out the trees. Are you a tree? Are you a tree that would not be deceived because you're a warrior in the family of heads? Add to that the sanctioned poisoning of hardwood trees by timber companies that has led to over 1 million dead trees to create a fire hazard. I also have an article here. Oh no, we'll just keep going on. Are the trees being destroyed merely to unblock hazardous signals? Is this treason on multiple levels? Yes. Yes, it is. Because we are to be the tall, firm, upright, strong trees. This is treason on multiple levels, spiritually and physically. These same millimeter waves have been used by the U.S. Army as a crowd control dispersal weapon called active denial systems. Why would you make it the same frequency as oxygen and what else did they say it was? It wasn't water, that was the lower frequency. And blood. Firefighters in Sacramento have reported memory problems and confusion following the installation of new towers in Los Angeles in 2004. Some cities, including Santa Rosa, have halted their 5G plans while health concerns are addressed. This must be an old article because I guarantee you, ain't nobody halting it now. The power of trees keeps us calm by acting on our autonomic nervous system, as well as our spirit. Okay, now let's just think about the trees that we just talked about spiritually. What kind of picture are we seeing here? Does the word of Yahuwah Elohim give you shalom? As they put it, calm? Does it cause you to be less anxious? Your nervous system, and I know the nervous system does a lot of things. When you're breathing in the spirit of Yahuwah Elohim, I mean, how much more do you need? Numerous studies show a dose-response relationship between urban tree cover density and self-reported stress recovery. And there's links to these articles in there. I can't tell you whether they all work or not. Studies show reduced physiological markers of stress in subjects simply looking at images of nature. So I'm on page 3 of this article if you have it pulled up. And you'll see there what looks like a tree, but it doesn't look like a tree. Look, it's above the trees. It's a 5G tree. That is not the strong, firm tree that should be making any decisions, that we should be listening to in any way, shape, or form. That don't even need to suck up water, let alone living water. Here. You see it? You see it? That's their 5G tree. That is not you and I. That is not got food to bring you into the first resurrection or food for after you get there. For the rest, it is not. Its leaves, I don't even know if they're real. I'm going to say no. Why would they be real? They're in the way anyway. That's a beautiful sound I hear. I don't know if you all can hear it, but I hear it. Unless we can stand up, speak up, collaborate, network, we risk being victims of the attack coming at us unseen. The unseen. We're all fighting an unseen enemy. You hear that lately? As millimeter waves are directed at our bodies and our minds, we feel powerless and isolated now. Really, do you? Don't we? Come on now. Powerless and isolated. And it's all playing out before our eyes. Imagine what it will feel like once the new networks are installed and operational. Imagine what it will be like when the trees are replaced with towers that look like trees. We only feel isolated when we work alone and isolate ourselves, like a forest. Like trees lined up by the banks of the living water, there is strength in numbers. Are we past that point? Is everybody so busy thinking with their brainstem? Wake up. Wireless kills trees. We're going to read several articles here. We're going to be here a while. This one comes from a website called electricalpollution.com. Wireless kills trees. Are you a tree? Because if you are a tree of Yahuwah Elohim in the family of heads, it will not be possible to get to you. Again, electricalpollution.com. Wireless kills trees. We rely on plants and trees for our very lives. Even people living in the most plant-free areas of major cities rely on plants for their existence. Plants produce the oxygen we breathe and are the basis of the food we eat. Oh, really? Didn't we just see that in Yehezkel about the trees? GMO, sprayed down, ground's got water in it that's dirty all around from the stuff that's been sprayed from the air. Come on now. What kind of tree are we? What's in our soil? Even the most carnivorous amongst us rely on plants because the animals we consume all consume plants. Our climate is dependent on trees, a sufficient number of trees, which is why the destruction of the Amazon rainforest is so disastrous. Contrary to industry representations, wireless technology is neither a sustainable nor environmentally friendly technology because wireless connectivity uses far more energy than wired connectivity. According to, quote, energy consumption in wired and wireless access networks, end quote, wireless technologies will continue to consume at least 10 times more power than wired technologies when providing comparable access rates and traffic volumes. PON, or passive optical networks, will continue to be the most energy efficient access technology. And if you have this document pulled up that I gave you the address for, you can see the link in there if you want to go read it. Even as technology becomes more energy efficient, a higher amount of energy is consumed in transmitting large amounts of information through the air. A higher amount of energy is consumed out of the air in transmitting large amounts of information through the air. A medium that has high resistance and high level of single absorption compared to transmission via various corded communication connections. Wonder what it's absorbing. Most of you probably already know. In fact, in a paper looking at the energy consumption of cloud computing, the authors state, our energy calculations show that by 2015, wireless cloud will consume up to 43 TWH. I didn't look that up. I don't know what that stands for. I can't look it up. Oh, yes, I can. I gotta guess at what it is. Let's find out. What is TWH? That wasn't what I thought it was. Terawatts per hour. Compared to only 9.2 terawatts per hour in 2012, from 9.2 to 43. An increase of 460%. And these are the numbers they're giving us. I can't tell you if they're higher. I won't say they were probably lower, but they could have been higher, because I don't believe much of what they say is what's going on. This information is probably older than, I don't want to say older than me, because anyway, we'll leave the dinosaurs alone. This is an increase in carbon footprint from 6 megatons of CO2 in 2012 to up to 30 megatons of CO2 in 2015. The equivalent of adding 4.9 million cars to the road. Up to 90% of this consumption is attributable to wireless access network technology. Data centers account for only 9%. It is clear from the discussion that cloud computing does not save energy unless it displaces local computing power. Otherwise, it is just increased energy consumption, especially when it is accessed wirelessly. Okay, so that gives us some idea of the percentage that it went up and the time frame that they say it is, and that it's absorbing things in the air. It's taking up more of the air. Wireless devices use radio frequency radiation sent indiscriminately through the air to communicate. Radiation through the air. The ambient levels of RF, radio frequency radiation, have increased rapidly with the proliferation of wireless technology. Unfortunately, regulators around the globe have had their heads in the sand. I wouldn't have put it in such a manner. Mine wouldn't have been so nice. Refusing to believe that RF radiation emitted by common wireless devices can have biological effects unless they cook you. So unless it cooks you, they don't think there's any effect. These regulators around the globe that are regulating it, they know. I don't know who they're listening to, but it ain't no strong tree. How about that? Might be a fake tree, but they ain't listening to no strong tree that's got the word of Yahuwah Elohim. Imagine that. Because they got the fake tree. Who's that? Ain't the tree of life. Regulations in the U.S., Canada, and many other parts of the world are based on the avoidance of thermal harm, not protection from non-thermal detrimental biological effects. So long as you don't burn, which one day they're going to, but as long as you don't burn from the radiation, they don't care about protecting you from non-thermal detrimental biological effects, despite numerous studies documenting their existence. You can see that at emfscientist.org, Maine, M-A-I-N-E, Coalition to Stop Smart Meters.org, bioinitiative.org. Those are just some of the websites they mention. Radiation from wireless technology is now jeopardizing the health of our trees and other plants. If you'll excuse me a minute, apparently I need to take care of something for work just real quick, and y'all can watch me take care of it, but I'm going to put y'all on mute just for a minute. All right, let's continue on. I'm going to be a big, strong tree. Radiation from wireless technology. Let me make sure the volume's going again. Let me throw that cough drop wrapper up there because, you hate to have a cough in front of anybody these days. They might think you're this, that, and the other. All right. Radiation from wireless technology is now jeopardizing the health of our trees and other plants. This comes from an article entitled Adverse Influence of Radio Frequency Background on Trembling Aspen Seedlings, Preliminary Observations by Katie Haggerty. A sham-controlled experiment using aspen seedlings, and it doesn't mean it was a sham, found that ambient RF radio frequency levels at the experimental site in Colorado, USA, were high enough to cause necrotic lesions on the leaves. What? Well, you'd think that would make the leaf fade or wither, decreased leader length and leaf area, and suppress fall anthocyanin production. According to Haggerty, citing supporting references, suppression of fall anthocyanin production is quite detrimental to trees. During fall leaf sessions, photosynthetic mechanisms become vulnerable to damage by visible light. Anthocyanins shield the photosynthetic apparatus from high light levels, preventing photoinhibition and damage to leaf tissue due to light stress. Transport of foliar nutrients requires energy provided by photosynthesis. You mean you need the light to transfer the nutrients for photosynthesis? But it's got to be just the right light? Isn't that interesting? And since the majority of nutrients in overwintering deciduous trees are derived from foliar nutrient transport during autumn leaf senescence, differences in anthocyanin production could have major effects on plant fitness. Okay, here we're going to boil down to what that just said. Absence of proper fall color has serious health implications for the trees, but it has serious economic implication for many parts of the country that rely on fall-colored tourists for a major portion of their income. Below is a picture. Oh, did I tell you where this was? Oh, yeah, you guys know where this is. Below is a picture of our basswood, which would normally turn a beautiful yellow color. Instead of this crinkly brownish that we see in the picture, let's see if we can see it. Instead of this crinkly brownish that's in the picture, it lost all its leaves shortly after this picture was taken. It never turned the lovely yellow again. Other trees have turned colors more naturally, but then leaves in certain areas turn brown and crunchy. They must be fading and withering. I wonder why. Most of our cottonwoods lost their leaves when they were a necrotic off green. Definitely not a look anyone is going to travel to see. Obviously, these people are in the tourist business. There is a Wi-Fi tower about a mile to the right of the trees in the picture below. You know what? I'm just going to show you guys this one. There's too many pictures for me not to. Again, this credit goes to this right here. It's an article by the Katie Haggerty person. Full credit to her. This is for educational purposes only. Fair use. There is a Wi-Fi tower about a mile to the right of the trees in the picture below. To the right is the Wi-Fi tower. Trees for miles around our home are showing necrotic lesions. Absence of normal fall color. Oh, isn't that interesting? Their absence of color. And very premature leaf loss during what would normally be a period of active photosynthesis. Leaf loss and tree death were documented as early as July. Radiation from wireless technology is harming and killing trees. The progression from damage to death is not necessarily slow. Below are some pictures documenting a cottonwood tree experiencing damage over the course of months. The pictures were taken July 24 of 16, August 9 of 16, September 12 of 16, and October 10 of 16. Here we go. Just the one on this side. See it? And a little bit of the tree on this side. It was kind of cut off anyway. And there went the tree. The other tree's okay. I mean, it's little, but you're getting into fall there, so you might be losing some stuff. The picture below from July 24, 2016 shows how quickly the damage shown above can progress to death. These cottonwood trees began exhibiting damage similar to the trees above in 2015. Most of them greened up in the spring of 2016, then had the leaves die and drop. 2 still retain low leaves low down. Others are completely dead. As you can see, the damage to trees can progress quickly to death. Balmori discusses the fact that white and black poplars and willows are more sensitive. There may be a special sensitivity of this family exists, or it could be due to their ecological characteristics forcing them to live near water and thus electric conductivity. Certainly the trees that are worst off in our area are willows and cottonwoods, and they are growing in areas that are wet, but trees of all types are exhibiting damage. Please think of the future. We cannot live without a healthy tree population. Right? Are we trees? We rely on trees for the very oxygen we breathe. Right? Do we need the breath of life? No technology. Nothing that the adversary is doing is worth endangering something as essential as our source of oxygen. He's sucking it right out of us in every way, shape, and form. Okay, something else down here. Tree damage in the vicinity of mobile phone base stations by Waldman, Selsom, and Edgar. By Waldman, Selsom, and Edgar in 2013, documented suspected RF radiation-related tree damage and RF radiation readings over a period of 6 years. It found significantly higher RF radiation readings by damaged trees as compared to undamaged trees. Sometimes damaged areas and undamaged areas were on the same tree, in which case the RF radiation levels were found to be higher near the damaged areas. Taken out the trees. Because trees are unable to move, differences in RF radiation levels from fixed sources like cell towers can result in very different RF radiation exposure because the trees can't move. Are you stuck at home? Are you stuck in a place where it's all around you 8-10 hours a day, if you're still able to be at one of those places? Okay, I'm going to leave the rest of my statements out of there for the other things. Come on now, some of you will pick that up. Because the trees are unable to move, differences in RF radiation levels from fixed sources like cell towers can result in very different RF radiation exposure microenvironments in different parts of the same tree or bush. I guess it depends on what they're pulsing at you, huh? What frequency, which level? Most people really don't stop to consider how their cell phone or other wireless devices work. They're just magic. They're witchcraft. They're part of the craft. They're divinatory in nature. That's the truth. They're just magic and neat and convenient. They are all those things. That is correct. On a whole nother level. If they do think about it, common perception includes these erroneous assumptions. Direct communication from devices to base stations similar to an invisible wire. We have an unseen enemy. Or a homogeneous RF field put out by the device and towers. Neither of these are true. The RF fields put out by both devices and towers are not exclusively direct from device to tower, nor are the RF fields homogeneous. These are areas of high RF concentration immediately adjacent to areas that are much lower. The exact nature of the fields depends on the transmitter configuration and use at the time. What do you want to use it for today? Gee, brain, what are we going to do tonight? Pinky, the same thing we do every night. Try to take over the world, right? What's the anti-Messiah's goal? He's going to use this how he needs to at any time and on any level that he wants. Hence, when you make call on a cell phone or download a video on Wi-Fi, the radiation, specifically microwave radiation used by the wireless device, goes through you and everyone around you. Which person, tree, or other creature is exposed to the most RF radiation, poor tiger, will depend on the device, your surroundings, and the base station transmitter location. Trees cannot move when they start to feel bad and show signs of damage. Get out. Are you a tree? I'm not saying uproot from the living water of life. But you can move and still remain immovable. Doesn't mean our roots aren't still planted in the spiritual sense. Come on now. The influence of the main beam direction, building shadow and reflection, sheltering of trees by other trees, and other factors are discussed in detail in Waldman, Selsam, and Agar. Okay. I don't know how much more. There's a nice little lilac. It's not so nice no more. See, part of it's bare, closer to the radiation. I do believe that's what's going on here. And this part is not. These people again, and this people et al., documented tree damage occurring at levels far below current RF limits. Damage far below current RF limits. Damage. Just as all the levels documented at the lilac are below FCC RF limits, this guy right here. FCC RF limits do not even pretend to be protective against effects caused by frequency. They don't even pretend like it. Because you know what? They don't hide nothing no more. It's right out in front of you. I don't even know why they take some of these videos off YouTube. I don't even know why. Because it ain't no secret no more. FCC RF limits do not even pretend to be protective against effects caused by frequency, modulation, pulse frequencies, modulation, or combinations in different combinations and use at any time in any way that they want of transmission from different transmitters or technologies. FCC RF limits only address thermal harm under very limited conditions. The FCC RF limits are only meant to protect a large male from thermal harm during a 6-minute exposure from a single transmitter. As soon as the large male is exposed to more than one transmitter or for longer than 6 minutes, the exposure is outside of the scope of the situation in which the FCC RF limits are meant to protect from thermal harm. People not fitting the description of a large male are not protected by the FCC RF limits. I am not a large male. Large? Okay. Male? No. Now what are you going to do with this? It's ridiculous. Just a minute. Apparently my job needs me. Or they don't. I'm going to hope they don't. Okay. All right. The Environmental Protection Agency stated, the FCC's current exposure guidelines, as well as those of the Institute of Electrical and Electronic Engineers, IEEE, and they got some good stuff there at the IEEE, if you can get your hands on some of it. Sometimes you can't get into it, but they got good stuff there if you can get it. and the International Commission of Non-Ionizing Radiation Protection are thermally based and do not apply to chronic, non-thermal exposure situations. We got a whole world that's exposed, but they ain't on fire, because that's reserved for the enemy. But they are exposed to chronic, non-thermal situations. They are believed to protect against injury that may be caused by acute exposures that result in tissue heating or electric shock and burn. The hazard level for frequencies generally are at greater than 3 megahertz, is based on a specific absorption dose rate, SAR. Specific absorption dose rate, SAR, associated with an effect that results from an increase in body temperature. And it goes on about the FCC and their limits and blah, blah, blah. Here's another tree where part of it had more radiation. Waldman, Selsam et al. Discusses the main features of tree damage that they hypothesized are being caused by RF radiation from wireless technology. I don't think it's a hypothesis anymore. Whether you're a tree or you're a tree like you and me. The selected 60 trees from the study polygon showed damage patterns that are not usually attributable to harmful organisms, such as disease, fungi, bacteria, viruses, and pests, insects, and nematodes, or other environmental factors. Water stress, heat, drought, frost, sun, compaction of soil, air, and soil pollutants. So it doesn't come from any of those. The main features of damage from this source are: trees are mainly affected on one side and can appear in any orientation. Damage appears without external indications that the tree is infested with insects, nematodes, fungi, bacteria, or viruses. It just shows up. But there's higher radiation there. Are you a tree? Who are they after? Damage appears on trees which have previously grown well. Damage increases from the outside to the inner part of the crown over time. Trees of different species at the same location also show damage, etc., etc., etc. Certainly this has been the case around our home. Well, additionally, the authors state, broad bands of frequencies, modulation, pulse frequencies, interference, and other physical characteristics may play an important role, since in some cases damage already appears at low intensities. All these things will play a part. The band of frequency, the modulation, how it's pulsed, its rate, its frequency, interference, if there's any interference, and other physical characteristics of what? The tree. What physical characteristics do we have that they're pulsing at? We'll get there. Maybe I'll remember to mention this again when we get to the point where I'm talking about this again. Certainly this has been the case around our home, which obviously brings up the question of who defines low. If intensities such as we are seeing around here can cause significant damage to trees and bushes and are billions of times greater than background RF radiation levels, are they really low? No. That's a rhetorical question. Certainly they are biologically significant and harmful, and no tree or person should be forced to be exposed to such harmful radiation. Did you choose this? That tree didn't choose it. Guarantee you that. All right, we're going to take a break, because we are at an hour and 44 minutes, and I probably got another hour and 44 minutes to go. So let's take 10. Okay, let's go back to what we were reading. It's a good thing Shabbat. It's a good thing sunset is late tonight. That is for sure. All right, let us continue on now. Okay. Let's see. Countless studies show 5G frequencies cause illness. This comes from an article from EMFtests.com. Countless studies show 5G frequencies cause illness. People suspect the 5G frequencies will cause problems having to do with oxygen. It was said by Joe Imbriano, and this guy's, been all over the place, so I'm not going to read much from him. I've got some other more pertinent stuff, but he's from the FullertonInformer.com, an activist and researcher from Fullerton, California, that when 5G reaches the frequency band of 60 gigahertz, the abilities for a person's blood hemoglobin to bind with oxygen will be damaged. The trees aren't letting off the oxygen, and they ain't got no oxygen because they're taking the oxygen away and nobody can have any breath. What's that a picture of? Who's coming in trying to really take out the breath of life these days, in this time, in this season? Researching his claims, they start to add up, although it is difficult to confirm the thing about oxygen and hemoglobin. This article, everythingrf.com, got the article titled there, from an accredited website about radio frequencies called Everything RF, is titled Why 60 Gigahertz Band is Not Good for Long-Range Communications. It reports that oxygen does, in fact, absorb 60 gigahertz frequency at an extreme level, representing a spike of absorption ability. There it is. Well, I'm going to read you more, but this is just what this one's saying. Can it? I don't know. Let's find out what these things do. Let's just look into it. Don't take anybody's word for it. When you see how different frequencies on the millimeter spectrum interact with oxygen. However, the graph is talking about high altitudes in the atmosphere. One would assume 5G interacts with oxygen in a similar way at our altitude. So, Joe Imbriano was correct to say that 60 gigahertz 5G will be absorbed by oxygen in an intense way. Doesn't that mean, just by common sense, that the oxygen in our bodies, the oxygen we breathe, which is the same frequency as what it's on, the same frequency as our blood, would be saturated with 60G frequencies? Doesn't that mean our bodies will conduct the 5G like antennas? Okay. There's a whole nother ball of wax going with our bodies being antennas. Okay? It's there. They are. It's in place. It's a whole different study than this. Go look it up. Go see what you can find. I ain't going there. Furthermore, wouldn't our bodies acting as potent antenna for 60G frequencies cause us all kinds of health problems? Where would we even escape to get away from them if they saturate all major cities with this? 5G's likely ill health effects can be divided into several categories. One is skin problems. Not going to read it. Oh, that sounds like tree lesions, doesn't it? Heart problems. Gee, imagine that. A study from 1992 reported that, and this is on the National Institute for Health website, frequencies in the higher 5G spectrum ranging from 53 to 78 gigahertz, what were they doing practicing with those? We're only supposed to be at 60. Come on now. Impacted the heart rate variably in rats. In other words, higher spectrum 5G could probably cause heart arrhythmia in humans. Another Russian study on frogs whose skin was exposed to these millimeter waves found that they cause heart arrhythmia. Eye problems, immune problems. A 2002 Russian study, which is the National Institute for Health, that set out to explore the effects of 42 gigahertz frequencies determined that when healthy mice were exposed to them, they had a drastic reduction of activity with cells involved with immunity, about 50%. But that's not even at 60 Gs yet. Come on. In other words, 42 gigahertz frequencies close to the middle of the 5G spectrum cause mice to suffer from immune system problems. Maybe that's why they need chloroquine. quinine, maybe. Zinc. They concluded the whole body exposure of healthy mice to low intensity EHFEMR has a profound effect on the indices of non-specific immunity. A detailed, complex-looking, but not impossible to understand study was published in 2010. I think that's the one we're going to... No, it's not that one. About the very same frequencies. Oh, it might be the one we're going to look at. About the very same frequencies Verizon is currently deploying directly in the middle of the current Verizon 5G spectrum at 35 gigahertz. The study was titled something at this dtic.mil website. There's a PDF called Protein Changes in Macrophages Induced by Plasma from Rats Exposed to 35 gigahertz millimeter waves. Guess what? It came from the Texas-based U.S. Air Force Research Laboratories and associated entities. The study reads, quote, In agreement with this, prior studies conducted by our laboratory showed intravascular aggregation of leukocytes and upregulation of genes associated with immune cell recruitment and activation in the skin of rats at 6 and 24 hours after exposure to 35 gigahertz millimeter waves at 75 MWCM2 until colonic temperature reached 41 to 428 Celsius. Previous investigations also indicate that sustained millimeter wave exposure can cause heating of internal tissues, presumably due to thermal conduction, and effects in peripheral blood cells and tissues distal to the initial site of energy absorption. Who knows where it's going to go through yet, right? They said that. Goes through everything. Poor tiger. A series of experiments performed in rats demonstrated that exposure to 35 gigahertz millimeter waves at 75 MW/CM2 for approximately 44 to 80 minutes produced elevations in skin and colonic temperatures and changes in heart rate, respiration rate, and blood pressure, with eventual circulatory collapse. In addition, increased levels of the oxidative stress marker 3-nitrotyrosine, 3NT, were detected in peripheral blood lymphocytes and neutrophiles of rats exposed to 35 gigahertz millimeter waves at that same deal for 44 to 60 minutes until body core temperatures reached 41 to 428 Celsius. Based on these results, we hypothesized, it says, okay, scratch that off, that 35 gigahertz millimeter waves can elicit the release of biologically active mediators into the systemic circulation, leading to downstream responses in cells and tissues. The ability to elicit effects in immune cells has also been observed for other millimeter wave frequencies. End quote. From the Texas-based U.S. Air Force Research Laboratories. So the exact frequencies that Verizon just unleashed are known by even the U.S. military to cause an increase of proteins associated with inflammation, oxidative stress, and energy metabolism, heating of internal tissues. That's what the U.S. military institutions admit 5G will cause. Let's back away from the research real quick and think about this with some common sense. How about we just put our spiritual eyes on? How about we quit looking at these things like all is well? Because all is well in Yahuwah. But come on. What's the enemy want to do? Control it all. What are we going to do tonight, brain? We're composed of water and oxygen, and we breathe oxygen. Oxygen is all around us. It shouldn't take much more scientific information to suspect that frequencies known to be extremely interactive with oxygen would cause health problems in mammals or even other life forms. Some mammals got it, weren't there? Come on now. The bees all dropped dead in one article. They won't even go back to put a cell phone by their beehive. One video I watched, they won't even go back to it. They bill it as being revolution a revolution in technologies, but those risks seem to outweigh the benefits. So we see it's not just 5G. It's these other waves that are in the middle of the spectrum, 35, 42, or whatever it was. It's not just 5G. It could be anywhere. It doesn't have to come from a little tower on a light pole. Hundreds of bees dropped dead around 5G towers in California, August 2nd, 2019. Simon Green for the Daily Star. You can go look that up. I'm not going to read it. I did want to show the, if I can find it here, the energy absorption chart. Not that I'll find it because I just closed a whole bunch of things. Oh, here it is. This comes from www.rfglobalnet.com. Fixed wireless communication at 60 gigahertz unique oxygen absorption. %98 of energy absorbed by O2 at 60 gigahertz. These are what it's absorbed at the other gigahertz. I don't know why it comes down here. Beats me. But I know that this is where the 5G is. And so some of that's gone its way up to the 5G, those other frequencies we talked about. But those frequencies do other things. They affect other things. All right. Hope I don't forget to show these pictures. This is an article, consciouslifenews.com. Bioacoustic Biology and Sound Health answers tough questions. Focus on 5G. Oh, we got another hour and a half left of this. Okay, not just of this. We're gonna get. There's like 2 more articles. No, I'm thinking there's 3 more articles, and then we're gonna dive back into the scriptures, back into the living water. I do want to make sure we show a couple pictures here. Okay, just one anyway. All right, now we're going to read this article that I just said from Conscious Life News. In this new series of articles, who's this by? Let me see if I can tell you. I cannot seem to tell, only that it's at the website I just mentioned. Oh, by Robert G. O'Leary. In this new series of articles, I seek to analyze a particular subject, technology, medicine, or nutrient from a sound analysis perspective. From a sound. We're making a sound analysis perspective. In order to do so, I will be using techniques and knowledge I have learned from the amazing Institute of Bioacoustic Biology and Sound Health, located in Albany, Ohio. There are many practitioners of this integrative type of medicine in the United States and numerous other areas of the world. For information, you can check out the website at www.soundhealthoptions.com. For this first article, I will be taking a look at the important new technology called 5G, a technology which is being installed as we speak around the world. Ain't that the truth? One cannot typically hear about 5G without hearing about some of the grave concerns about the safety and lack of testing of this technology. I felt impelled to write this article after watching an eye-opening YouTube video about 5G. It was a very simple video production, one without the editing and gloss typical of YouTube videos today. Yet I was transfixed by the charisma and conviction of the speaker in the video. He spoke so earnestly and intelligently from the alcove of his home about this subject. His video was called Urgent, Forbidden Information a Must Watch. 5G is a kill grid that would lead to forced vaccinations. Embriano, 2018. For more information on those last 2 words in that sentence I just read, you can see my buying and selling video. I don't know, it's maybe 4 or 5 videos back. The man in the video is named Joe Embriano. Here's this guy again. He is a scientist and activist. He has taken a particular interest in the effects of Wi-Fi generally and 5G technology. Specifically, his interest is in that. His pseudonym on his YouTube is The Fullerton Informer, and he has numerous videos on YouTube under that name. In this video, Imbriano provided information about the frequency at which 5G will reportedly be emitted, 60 gigahertz. He informed the viewer that this frequency is at the beginning of a range of frequencies which happen to disrupt the ability of the element iron to bond with the oxygen. It's got a place where you can watch his video here. This postulation intrigued me as a bioacoustic biology and sound health practitioner, as it well should, and I thought I would explore this information further. Maybe he could have been a magnetobiologist. Maybe it is. Maybe he is. That exploration inspired the writing of this article. As a practitioner, I looked at how resonant frequencies in our environment can affect us. As such, this article will provide important information about how and why 5G may influence our bodies, form, and function. As I analyzed this subject bioacoustically, this is beautiful. I first found that the frequency equivalent, that's going to be the FE, of 60 gigahertz, which equals 60 trillion hertz, is further equivalent, albeit at a far lower frequency, to a common mineral which is indispensable to our survival on this planet. I will be using this particular frequency equivalent to further analyze 5G's effects. Before we go further, I will define the term frequency equivalent. By way of background, everything in our bodies and what we put into our bodies, whether it be food, vitamins, minerals, medicines, poisons, or toxins, and they've been poisoning us and toxifying us for quite some time, all these have a numeric frequency. So does the tree. Are we strong trees, planted by the streams of living water? They all have a numerical frequency. All these things that are in our body are around us, which the Institute of Bioacoustic Biology and Sound Health calls frequency equivalent, or FE for short, and that's a trademark by the Bioacoustic Biology and Sound Health. I guess it's a trademark. The body is incredibly system redundant, as for example shown by how a pressure point can address symptoms in different parts and systems. Oh, that's beautiful. Likewise, so if you push one place, you might affect something somewhere else. If you pulse one thing, you might affect something somewhere else. Likewise, a single FE frequency equivalent can correspond to a muscle and biochemical simultaneously. For example, an inability to open a pickle jar tends to indicate a weak lower thumb muscle and also correlates to the mineral zinc. Got your zinc? Get your quinine. Presenting that particular FE to the body through headphones or a speaker can improve the performance of both. I think I'm going to have to take another break. I can hear it coming. Time out again. We get another break. This is a good day, right? Okay, I guess I'm wrong. It's going to come again, though. I can tell you that already. Here is a description of bioacoustic biology from the website of the Institute of Bioacoustic Biology and Sound Health, which is found at soundhealthoptions.com. As a bridge between ancient ideas of sound healing and the futuristic Star Trek protocols that the Institute provides, it is now possible to reverse diseases and traumas previously thought to be incurable, to reveal the secrets of our true nature, to enhance our lives. They say to predict what will be our fate through frequencies of our voice, though I'm not going to go there. I'm not saying I agree with everything they say. However, knowing your voice takes on new meaning if you begin to consider the possibility that the sounds of your voice may be holographic representation of all that you are. You think that wave could be a wave-particle duality of everything from of the breath from the L to the Ta coming off that frequency of your voice? Are you like the sound of many waters because your body's made mostly of water, so that which comes off your voice is a wave-particle duality of everything in its proper order from the L to the Ta? If you're like the tree planted by the streams of water, boy, wouldn't the enemy like to take you out? Imagine a future in which our individual vocal frequencies represent our identification, right? I mean, I know this guy's talking in kind of new agey terms, but just think about what we're speaking. Where the use of frequency-based biomarkers, oh, isn't that interesting? Let me say that again, Steph. Where the use of frequency-based biomarkers contained within our voice can be used to keep us healthy and emotionally balanced. Hear that voice inside your head? Is it yours? What's it telling you? Does it contain your frequency-based biomarker? Who would do something like that? To throw you off, to keep you unhealthy and unemotionally balanced. Wonder where that came from. Come on now. Well, isn't that interesting? From birth to death, we use sounds to express our needs and emotions. But there are additional layers of information hidden within our words. Oh, wow. Is the word that we're speaking alive? Is it going to bring the healing, the oxygen from the leaves of the tree? As man evolved, language became levels of intricate harmony nestled within structures of great elegance that carried meaning and allowed understanding of ourselves and others. What can bioacoustic biology tell us about 5G's emission frequencies? Boy, am I getting tired. My bioacoustical biological analysis reveals that this frequency equates to such things as chlorophyll and glutathione, to name a few. It also equates with the frequency equivalent of elemental mineral iron. My understanding is that anytime you add energy to an atom or molecule, the particles move more rapidly, bounce more and more off of neighboring particles, that sounds like a magnetic field, and thereby expand. Adding energy to an element, we can also reasonably say what will happen when we interact with electromagnetic fields, such as those produced by 5G or any of those other things we talked about, 35, 42, whatever it was, will also cause it to increase its normal spin of electrons around the nucleus. Then they'll have a quantum leap. Remembering basic chemistry. As we excite a substance more and more, it will pass through its different physical states of matter. In other words, when we heat a solid, it stays solid till it reaches a melting point, and at which time converts it to a liquid. If heated more, the liquid boils and turns into a gas. Oh my goodness. A solid has tightly packed atoms and molecules. A liquid has these particles more spread out, and a gas has them spread out further still. This gaseous state is a kind of maximum expansion of the substance, and we can see this microscopically. Going farther still into the microscopic world, we see that the actual atoms are responding to the application of additional energy. They demonstrate this in the form of an increased spin in their electrons, and that faster spin causes additional agitation of the particles we see. A faster spin has another consequence. It causes the electrons to hop from lower orbits to higher orbits of its structures, i.e. a quantum leap. Oh my goodness. Quantum, everywhere a quantum. We could use the analogy of a tilt-a-whirl ride at the amusement park. The faster you spin, the more outward force you feel on your body. If you were not strapped in, your body would keep moving outward from the center. The faster you spin, the more force you feel on your body. As some of us may recall from our chemistry classes, electrons travel in so-called orbits around the nucleus, which is made up of one proton and a neutron. There are various orbits in each atom, each of which can hold a different number of electrons. There is a certain quantity of electrons which each orbit can accommodate when the atom is in stasis. In the case of an iron atom, the first orbit holds 2 electrons, the second holds 8, the third holds 14, and the fourth one holds 2. What might be the consequences of an additional spin upon an iron atom? As expected, with more energy, be it from heat or millimeter-sized radio waves, it seems that the electrons would likely hop up to the atom's upper orbital areas. So we got the nucleus, and we got a ring around that, and a ring around that, and a ring around that. And so they jump from the ring in the middle out and out and out. And they take up the space on the outside of the atom. The influence of additional energy upon the atoms which help us to breathe. It's trying to take out the breath of life. Doesn't want any of the breath of life. The adversary, the anti-Messiah, does not want it here. He wants to rule and reign as he always has. Total control. This phenomenon is borne out by the following article, and it shows that this effect holds a particular consequence for iron's most important interaction with the oxygen molecule. According to the article, the name of the article is The Iron-Oxygen Bond in Oxyhemoglobin. Scientist Max Perutz was inspired by contemporary scientist Linus Pauling to discover that, quote, the iron-oxygen binding in hemoglobin depends on the electronic spin transition of the iron atom, end quote. This article goes on to state that, essentially, Perutz found that when the ferrous iron in hemoglobin is in a low spin state, its higher d orbitals are unoccupied by electrons. The outer orbits don't have electrons. The lower orbits do. The higher orbits don't. Which allows oxygen to form a bond with the iron. But we've already seen that the oxygen absorption in the air is taken away by 5G. And even in some respects by other Gs that are lower than that. In a high spin state, out here, the electrons in ferrous iron are occupying, so they've jumped out to the highest orbit. In ferrous iron are occupying all the d orbitals in the atom, and oxygen remains unbound because there is no room in the uppermost orbital. Can't get there, can't bind. I've also heard that it changes the spin on the electron on the outside of the oxygen molecule as well, so they can't combine either. And it's being sucked, so it's being sucked up and absorbed by it as well. He wants to take out the breath of life, which will come from the leaves of the tree. So he wants to take out the trees. We better be rooted and grounded. This suggests that the more likely structure for hemoglobin involves a single bond between iron and oxygen molecule, not the double bond that Pauling had proposed in 1948 and again in 1964. But Pauling was correct with respect to the presence of ferrous iron in the compound, and he had been able to make this determination before any crystallographic pictures were available to him. In this low spin state, the uppermost orbit is open, so if it's spinning down here, the outside orbit is open. This means that all the electrons are occupying the lower orbits. Oxygen utilizes the uppermost orbit in order to find a place with iron to bond with it. If the frequency equivalent of iron is activated by outside energy at the level of 60 trillion hertz of millimeter wave energy, it stands to reason that this will result in activations of electrons such that they will be pushed to the outer orbit, thereby leaving no room for the oxygen to be able to bond, can't get to it, with the iron because the orbit's all full. This could mean that oxygen and iron molecules will not have the ability to bond. This phenomenon could be of great concern to the future health of our world. Since the vision and marketing for 5G and these other lower ones on that same range, they still absorb some of the oxygen in the air, so that we got oxygen absorbency going on all the way up the scale, and changing the spin on the outside of the oxygen molecule as well. If it's running on the same level with the oxygen spin, it would make sense to me. Since the vision and marketing for the 5G is to have its towers within several feet of one another, and to have 5G technology inside of homes, within phones, games, appliances, etc., it is likely that nowhere may be safe from these waves. Being in the hand of Yahuwah is a safe place to be. Being in the hand of the breath of life, grounded and rooted, is a safe place to be. Are we going to be that tree? Under a constant cascade of this specific frequency of radio waves, how and when will our lungs, not to mention those of non-human beings, like tigers, be able to bring the life-giving and life-sustaining oxygen to which we are accustomed into our bodies? Trying to suck the breath of life out of the air. Won't go there. While the air outside will still contain ample amounts of oxygen in a 5G world, our bodies, ironically, could still suffocate. To play with an old saying, we may have miles and miles of oxygen around us, but not a drop to breathe. How swiftly such a state of anexema may occur is unknown. Anexema. But consider, I'm sure somebody's going to call me and tell me if I said that wrong later or not, and I would appreciate it. But consider for a moment the diabolical potential of this kind of technology. Diabolical. It could easily be the product of a James Bond movie level evil mastermind, or most any other movie you've seen out there lately. Just, there's bits and pieces of this, and I don't watch much. I watch rarely, like next to none of it. But I hear things, and yet it is all too real. It is mind-boggling to think of the potential harmful effects of this technology. It is fundamental and basic knowledge that we need oxygen in order to survive and thrive. It is the basis for our physical, mental, and emotional processes. Physical, mental, and emotional. Oxygen plays a key role in the lives of our animals too. Well, you know what? No wonder another reason we're thinking at the brainstem level, even at those lower levels, it's sucking oxygen out. It's affecting our physical, mental, and emotional processes. Oh my goodness. Oxygen plays a key role in the lives of our animals too. Plants breathe out oxygen for us to breathe in. Are we a tree? We breathe out carbon dioxide, which they use in their photosynthesis process, which we saw is affected by the radio frequency towers from the article we read where the tree was part dead on one side or dead altogether. Couldn't photosynthesize, didn't have no fall colors, had lesions on their leaves, neurotic. Nature and our Creator, praise Yah, Yahuwah Elohim, have given us a beautifully balanced system. That is correct. It was supposed to be that way. Can it be that way in some places? Is it? I know we live in a sinful, fallen world. I mean, I'm not going to negate the fact it can't be somewhere. Somehow it was that way in the garden. All these things work together. Somehow by design, deception, they say our dumb luck, which I don't believe in because there's no such thing as a coincidence, the telecom industries have somehow hit upon a frequency which will be tremendously counterproductive and disruptive to that balance everywhere you look. Every biological living thing. Is this some kind of doomsday device? Okay. Which could kill off many? Look around. And be the means to limit freedoms? Look around. And mobility? Look around. Oh, maybe you only can see the four walls in your house. And vitality of the rest of society? Okay. Duh. Look around. 5G's dangerous history. It is pertinent to note that this type of technology has already been used as a weapons system. As shown in the article, title of the article is 5G networks will use the same frequency as pain-inflicting crowd control weapons. This tech was used for purposes of crowd control and crowd dispersal. Apparently, this technology can inflict a burning sensation and affect your skin as indicated by the quote below. For years, the U.S., Russian, and Chinese defense agencies have been developing weapons that rely on the capability of this electromagnetic technology to induce unpleasant burning sensation on skin as a form of crowd control. Well, isn't that special? Millimeter waves are utilized by the U.S. Army in crowd dispersal guns called active denial systems. Dr. Paul Benishi, that sounds like an interesting last name, pointed to research that was commissioned by the U.S. Army to find out why people ran away when a beam touched them. If you are unfortunate enough to be standing there when it hits you, you will feel like your body is on fire. The U.S. Department of Defense explains how, quote, the sensation dissipates when the target moves out of the beam. Keep on moving. Stay rooted and grounded. The sensation is intense enough to cause a nearly instantaneous reflex action of the target to flee the beam. Another article adds more information to this discussion. It mentions that this technology was developed at least as far back as the 1980s. At least. Right? Come on now. And that the burning sensation comes from the actual heating of a victim's skin to a level of at least 130 degrees Fahrenheit. It is said to be non-lethal. I skipped a whole section there. That's great. Why are they in such a rush to put it in place? It seems to this writer very worrisome that the companies are pushing for local towns and cities to have no real say over the decision of whether or whether not to place this tech. It is being rushed into place at an alarming rate. Pave paradise and put up a parking lot, especially in the last 30 days. The purported watchdog agency, the FCC, the purported watchdog agency, the FCC, does not seem concerned about the technology in the least. No, why would they be? They're on board. Beast system, part of it. In fact, they seem almost giddy at the prospect of its full implementation. Boy, aren't they under a spell. That's witchcraft at its finest. None of this tech will really be tested before it's put online. I think these things have been tested. I do think they've been tested in many respects. And I don't think the testing has shown anything good for any of us, especially the trees. And the rules and regulations controlling Wi-Fi are woefully outdated and seem purposely drafted to do little to nothing to protect citizens from the harm that 3G, 4G, and 5G technology represent. Some of this is discussed in a video entitled, quote, Michigan House Energy Policy Committee 5G Hearing, May 29, 2018, Part 1, end quote, from Michigan. And it can be found at, I don't know, there's a link in the article here. It doesn't give me the website. The area of particular interest in regard to health issues begins at about the, I don't know if it's 1 minute 4 second mark or 1 hour 4 minute mark. Okay? All right. That's enough out of that article. That was beautiful. Oh, it wasn't beautiful, but what information, okay? There's an article here by ourgreaterdestiny.org entitled 5G 60 gigahertz oxygen absorption U and that new disease that's going around. Just going to read this one sentence out of it. The way 60 gigahertz impacts oxygen is this. Oxygen, the atom, is O. Oxygen, the molecule, is O2. Two atoms together. Now, these two atoms creating the oxygen molecule are sharing some electrons. They got a bond. They got this outer orbit. They got a bond. They got to be covalent. 60 gigahertz causes the electrons surrounding the oxygen molecules to spin. Somewhat akin to how high-powered microwaves running out 2.4 impact molecules in food, such as water, affects the water. We are 70% water. Come on, it's the whole thing. It's now just picked up speed. Well, literally, the electrons have picked up speed. How about that? They're heating in part by impacting those molecules to rotate or oscillate with each wave. The movement energy from the rotation of these super tiny water molecules is actually helping to heat the rest of the food. So in a similar way, that 2.4 causes H2O to oscillate. 60 gigahertz, even at lower powers, is causing the electrons on the oxygen molecules to spin. And as you imagine, changes to the spin frequencies on oxygen electrons can have impacts on human biology. When you breathe in, the reason for breathing air into your lungs is that it gets oxygen into your blood and therefore important places like your brain. And because the oxygen entering into your lungs gets picked up by the very important iron-containing protein called hemoglobin, which the spin has been changed on so that there's no room for it to connect either. However, the unfortunate impact of oxygen molecules spinning the electrons is that it makes the hemoglobin unable to uptake the oxygen and to get it to the rest of your body. This information was taken from a textbook called Magnetobiology, Underlying Physical Problems. Okay. All right. I'll show this picture next. Maybe. May not be able to see it very well. That's all right. I'll read it to you. Woo-woo. This comes from Ontario Secondary School Teachers Federation, Education Forum, Volume 32, Issue 3, Fall 2006. Symptoms of radio wave sickness. I cannot tell you exactly which frequencies these are at. All different frequencies as far as I can tell. They just pulse and affect whatever they want to get control. We're going to see that in a minute. Neurological. Headaches, dizziness, nausea, difficulty concentrating, memory loss, irritability, depression, anxiety, insomnia, fatigue, weakness. This sounds like a bad pharmaceutical commercial. Tremors, muscle spasm, numbness, tingling, altered reflexes, muscle and joint pain, leg, foot pain, flu-like symptoms, fever. More severe reactions can include seizures, paralysis, psychosis, and stroke. Cardiac. Palpitations, arrhythmias, pain or pressure in the chest, low or high blood pressure, slow or fast heart rate, shortness of breath. Respiratory. Sinusitis, bronchitis, pneumonia, asthma. What are all these symptoms people have? What frequencies do these come at? No wonder there's a whole plethora of symptoms. Better go in and start to pull the toxins out of your cells, because each of those have a different frequency. Those toxins that they put in us, and they know what toxins they put in us. They know what they've sprayed in the air, and they know what they put on the food, and they know what frequencies those are, so that when they blast that frequency, they can pull those out of you, and you could be sick. And you could have all these symptoms. Isn't that special? Dermatological, skin rash, itching, burning, facial flushing. Ophthalmologic, pain or burning in the eyes, pressure in or behind the eyes, deteriorating vision, floaters, cataracts. Others, digestive problems, abdominal pain, enlarged thyroid, testicular ovarian pain, dryness of lips, tongue, mouth, eyes, great thirst, dehydration, nosebleeds, internal bleeding, altered sugar metabolism, immune abnormalities, redistribution of metals within the body, hair loss, pain in the teeth, deteriorating fillings, impaired sense of smell, ringing in the ears. I can tell you about that. These symptoms resemble symptoms associated with electrical hypersensitivity, EHS. Between 3% and 35% of the population may have symptoms of EHS. Okay, way higher than that. Look around. I don't know what the percentages of sick people today over this whole deal. And we don't even know some of them. What's going on? Come on now. I'm not going to read the rest of this. You guys can probably go find this. You've seen a picture of it now. All right. Okay, so there's an article out there called, gosh, I'm on page, oh boy, I think I lost my page. Okay, I'm on page 67 of this article. Man, I wish I could see the title of this article. Okay, I'm going to read this article first. I'm not even going to read all of it. It's called Achievements in Magnetobiology. It's declassified in part. It's just the first 5 pages of this article. The rest of it, I think I had the full article in the next one, but I'm going to read you the title of it at the end because I don't want to lose my spot that I'm on. Sanitized copy approved for release 5/10 of 2012. Moscow. Rixia biologiczek system na magnety polia. Responses of biological systems to magnetic fields. In Russian, 1978, signed to Press 24, Feb 78, pages 3 to 5, and table of contents. First, we've got the table of contents. At present, there exists not less than 2,000 published sources on the biological effects of MF magnetic fields, is what that stands for. We're going to call it MF. Magnetobiology is discussed in textbooks and in encyclopedias. Practically no one doubts the biological effect of MF, but the question of how this effect is realized, that's what the EMF, electromagnetic frequency, EMF, we've just added, we've got it flying through the air. I'm not going to go into the science behind that because I just, got some new information that, I just can't even, I can wrap my mind around it, but I'd like to study it a little more before and if I ever say anything. Practically no one doubts the biological effect of MF, but the question of how this effect is realized has not been answered satisfactorily. Therefore, the mechanisms of the MF effect on biological systems received primary emphasis in the articles of this collection, of which this is part of. We're just going to read a little bit at the beginning. In essence, each author gives some attention to this basic problem of magnetobiology, but articles treating exclusively this problem are included in the first section of this collection. So this is what this whole collection is about. Each of the articles stresses the aspect which is most important to that author in his opinion, in the many-sided process of the interaction of MF with biological objects. You are biological. A tree is biological. It's alive. It's a plant. Tigers are biological. It's talking about living things. Are we a tree, rooted and grounded? Are we really going to be affected by this? Maps out various approaches to the solution of this important problem. Oh, it must be a problem. There must be a problem here. And lays the foundation of a general theory of primary mechanisms. It is clear that there are more than one of the biological effects of MF. There are many biological effects. Okay, hold on. I'm trying to get to the top of the page, apparently. Don't make me sigh like that again. The second part of the collection is written by physicians and biologists who focus their attention on the properties of biosystems, whether it is a mitochondrion, a cell, the mitochondria of the cell, or a population of organisms. Here, an MF often plays the role of a convenient instrument for studying a biosystem. It's just a convenient instrument so we can study the biosystem so we can best see how to affect it. Let's see what we can do to the trees. Let's see what we can do to you and me. Although the ecological role of this physical factor is already reflected in some works, it is regrettable that the effects of weakened magnetic fields, WMF, on biological objects have not been sufficiently studied, though I would say that we're past that point. This says it's 1978, was released in 2012, but who knows what they were doing before that. I'm sure more than we'll ever know. It is shown that organisms react to MF both through reflexes, just as to other stimulants, and directly, since MF have a penetrating effect and can act directly on the central nervous system. Let's line it up in the MF the way that we need and shoot the right frequency through there at the right this with the right that. We'll leave those blanks empty for now. The second route of influence was demonstrated in experiments with isolated preparations of the central nervous system of mammals and with surviving nervous systems of invertebrates. It is interesting that the isolated central nervous system responded to MF better than the intact system. They had a little study to see what they could do about that. I think they probably got it down pretty pat by now. Why in the world would they have been testing it? Come on, USA, Russia, China, just doing something for the fun of it without any long-term effects on what are we going to do tonight, brain? Same thing we do every night, Pinky. We should also mention that the third route of MF effects on the organism, which is indirect in nature. The point is that aqueous solutions of many substances, including drinking water, and solutions of pharmacological preparations change their biological treatment after treatment in MF. To change the drinking water. What are you made up of? I mean, it's the whole conglomerate of things. It's not just this frequency or that field or this, that, or the stuff on the food or the stuff in the air or the stuff in the water. It's the whole conglomerate. They've put it all together for this point in time. The length of exposure also contributes to the nature of the response to an MF, which is characterized by a long latent period. There could be a latent period in there and considerable after effects. In the case of intermittent exposure, the summation of the effects is observed, which is used in physiotherapy. So that exposure, not, exposure, not, exposure, not, different exposure, not, however they decided to test it. And when the exposure time is increased, adaptation is observed. You eventually become, well, I don't know what they mean by that, so let me not comment because I didn't read that part of the article. However, the ultimate biological effect is determined not only by localization and length of exposure, so they've tested that, how local they need it and the length that you need to be exposed, but also by the characteristics of the biological object itself. What frequencies of the minerals, vitamins, toxins, poisons, etc., that are in your body. That will characterize how you're affected by this whole process. See that? Got it? That's for you, brother, down there with Sylvia. At the and Mitch would say, do that again. At the organism level, the response to the MF is determined by the specific and genetic characteristics. Age. Young organisms, particularly embryos, are sensitive to MF. Sex. Males are more sensitive than females. Individual characteristics and the functional state. So maybe to make up for the fact that they're more sensitive to the magnetic field, they have to make some other adjustments. Or maybe there are some already characteristically in nature. Like the, what's it called? Stephanopsis? The above information shows which elements of the biological system are most vulnerable to the MF effect, but do not determine the degree of the biotropism of the individual parameters of this effect. I'm sure that's been studied. The characteristics of the biological effectiveness of some MF parameters are treated in the third section of this collection. It was written by authors with engineering specialization. Great, we got engineers involved. That's what we need. It is hoped that the information given in this section will help in raising the methodological level of magnetobiological experiments. Kids, get some more going on, because we need more of this in the air, in which only the magnetic field intensity was mentioned most frequently. The above discussion dealt with biological effects at fixed MF parameters. It was shown that the effectiveness of exposure increases if one or several parameters of the effect are varied during the exposure. It was shown that the effectiveness of exposure increases if one or several parameters of the effect are varied during the exposure. You're going to vary that which runs through the magnetic field. Therefore, the magnetic field varies. itself. That's the way I understand it. For example, an intermittent effect is stronger than a continuous effect. Pulse, 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 pulse. And the effect of changing frequency is stronger than the effect of fixed frequency. Pulse, pulse, pulse. It should be concluded that by artificially changing the MF parameters, one can, to a certain degree, control the behavior of the organism. Well, what are we going to do tonight, brain? Influencing in a contactless way its regulation systems. The ultimate goal of magnetobiological studies, the possibility of controlling the activity of biosystems, can be accomplished by including feedback in the circuit of the automated controlled experiment. The materials of this collection have outlined the ways of achieving this goal. Wow! Right? What are we going to do tonight, brain? I might have to go watch that Spielberg cartoon. It is hoped that the complex theoretical and practical problems of magnetobiology will be solved through joint efforts of various specialists, right? Because you got to have, there's more than one person on board here. All right. One more article. I'm going to read this one paragraph. I want to read you the whole article, but it's 120 pages, right? So I'm going to read you one paragraph. And I just picked this out of the blue. It's the one that jumped out. I don't even have any idea of what the rest of it says. A more likely explanation for what's written above, and I'll give you the title of this article in a minute. I don't know if you can find it or not. A more likely explanation can be based on processes on the surface of membranes. There is a large number of membranes in a cell. In addition to the external membrane, which is the cell's sheath, the so-called plasmatic membrane, subcellular particles are also surrounded by their own membranes. Among these are the mitochondria, which functions as the powerhouse of the cell, and the lysosomes, which contain the enzyme-splitting proteins, nucleic acids, and other substances. Additional membranes develop and decay in the course of a cell's functioning when the cell is exposed to unfavorable impacts. Multi-layer membrane structures and small bodies are formed sometimes to provide a contact. Of special importance in this context is the fact that it is on the membrane surface that many of the processes determining the cell function take place. In particular, membranes influence the enzymatic activity and coordinate the chemical reactions inside the cells. Membranes also take part in intracellular coordination, the transmission of information from one cell to another on contact, as well as the intracellular communications. Okay, this is taking over your biological, just taking over control on every level. The intermembrane contact itself can result from active motions of membrane associated with the vibrations excited in them. In their capacity of a coordinator of intracellular activity and intracellular interactions, membranes are in the continuous state of motion and change. This is probably how the information effects of electromagnetic resonance are produced, by affecting the patterns of acoustical electrical oscillations, bioacoustics, we read that, in the membrane. The radiation can regulate the process in the cells through processes at the cellular level. It can affect the functioning of complex multicellular organisms. The targets of regulation would include the membrane transport, the reactions, and the excitation of membrane connections. This latter effect must be dependent on the initial reciprocal positions of the membranes and the transmission of vibrations from one of the communicating membranes to the other. This process would be affected not only by the type of contact, but by the distribution of the fields as well. Okay, let me tell you the title of this article. I'm going to read this article. The Effects of Electromagnetic Radiation on Biological Systems, Current Status in the Former Soviet Union, compiled by Edwin C. May and Laura V. Faith, 26 February 1993. Okay. The picture of what's being done to the trees and why they don't want the trees and why the trees are dying and why the animals are being well, and I get we're sheep and cattle. This is really about the trees. We are those trees. They want to take out the trees, and they want to take out those that will be strongly rooted and planted by the streams of living water that give off the good fruit and produce the oxygen that is for healing that comes from Yahuwah. All right. Well, that's enough on the other side of things that we've read about. Now I'm going to take a break because I can see I have someone here, and I'll be right back. I just did a bunch of talking and you couldn't hear me. Isn't that spectacular? You see, you can see by all this, I'm going to try to repeat what I said. All the enemy wants is control. He wants to take out the breath of Yahuwah Elohim. He wants to sit as Elohim and the throne of Elohim. And all those that follow him want to sit on their own seat as Elohim. It's just that simple. I sure hope that was just a little bit of stuff I had cut off, because I'm going to be real upset if part of this video gets cut off again. Well, I mean, what's the hour mark? 2:50? Proverbs 11:27-31. But he who earnestly seeks to be functional, who seeks what is pleasing. Pleasing to who? Pleasing to Yahuwah Elohim. Who else would we need to please? But to him who seeks dysfunction, it comes to him. They're going to be dysfunctional. They're going to get dysfunction. And letting the anti-Messiah control them is going to be way dysfunctional. I don't think that someone wants me to put this out. I don't think so. Yeah. He who trusts in riches falls, but the righteous flourish like a leaf. Why? Because their trust is in the treasures that are stored up in the Shemayim. It's like a leaf that does not fade and it does not wither because it's on the tree that's planted by the streams of living water on the bank that sucks up everything from the El to the Ta. Because they were intimate with the shepherd so they could breathe that back out the leaf. What are they breathing out of the leaf? What are you breathing out? The righteousness of Elohim that comes from his breath, that comes from the El to the Ta? He who troubles his own house inherits wind, and the fool is servant to the wise of heart. The fruit of righteousness, what? Fruit? What are we producing? Good fruit? Functional fruit? To make everyone else functional? Or just rotten fruit? The fruit of the righteous is a tree of life. Are we a tree? Now, we are not the tree of life. I understand that. I get it. What seed was the tree we are planted from? What are we sucking in from the nutrients that's in the earth? The seed that he planted in the earth? Or some other garbage that's been twisted up and stuck down in there? Some special fertilizer, maybe. And he who is winning lives is wise. Is that what the tree does? See, the righteous in the earth shall be rewarded. There's a reward, and it is coming. How much more the wrong and the sinner? There's your two sides of the same coin. Only one thing going to protect you from all this. One thing going to protect us from all this. That is Yahuwah, Elohim, and the breath that he breathes, and the fact that we stay rooted and grounded by the river of living water, that we might bring up the oxygen and win souls, win lives unto him. That's it. It's the only place to be. There's no other place to be. Yeah, we didn't need that, did we? Matthew 7:15-23. I'm not pausing this video again. Apologize for the sigh. But beware of false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing. They look like a sheep. Or maybe they've looked like a sheep for a time and you weren't able to discern they only had on sheep's clothing. And now the zipper, you've seen that. Maybe you've seen that. Mimi. And the zipper comes down and it's a wolf face in there. Let me do that again. Got it? But it looks like a sheep. Beg and pray for discernment. Because they're tares amongst the wheat. They're here. They're in places you couldn't even imagine. Wouldn't have even known it before. Well, maybe it was just me because I couldn't discern it before. Could be. Moment you would think they were AI, right? You know who I'm talking to out there. But inwardly they are savage wolves. By the fruits you shall know them. What are they feeding you? Is it going to get you into the first fruits in the resurrection to be the bride and the bride line? Kings and priests, trees planted by the streams of water? Or you going to be second resurrection material? Because we all stayed on the surface and had these little bitty roots. Deep roots. Are grapes gathered from thorn bushes? Most certainly not. Are figs from thistles? So every tobe functional tree, every tree that's functional, every tree that's good, produces tobe functional fruit so that they can be functional to be in the kingdom. But a rotten tree yields dysfunctional fruit, which keeps you out at a minimum from the first resurrection. And the second death might just have power over you. Or me, if not making the first resurrection. I'm not any better than anybody else. A functional tree is unable to yield dysfunctional fruit. If you are a tree that is planted by the streams of living water and taking that in and produced a strong root system and taking the nutrients out of the soil, the seed that was planted in the earth, up into the tree, making it firm and strong and out to the branches and out to the leaves that produce the oxygen that give the breath of life, you are unable to yield rotten fruit, dysfunctional fruit. That fruit by default is functional because you've resisted the devil. But first you submitted to Yahuwah Elohim. It's unable to produce dysfunctional fruit. And a dysfunctional rotten tree to yield good fruit. Compares it to wolves in sheep's clothing. Tares in wheat. Tares in the midst of the wheat, Every tree that does not bear tobe fruit is cut down and thrown into the fire. Obviously, that's a picture of the lake of fire. Yochanan HaMabil said to the scribes and the Pharisees? I can't remember who was there. Repent. For I tell you, Yahuwah can raise up children for Abraham from these stones. The axe is already laid at the root of the tree. It's cut down and thrown into the fire. Dysfunctional, rotten fruit from that tree. That's not the only type of tree. So then by their fruits you shall know them. Not everyone who says to me, Master, Master, shall enter into the reign of the Shemaim, but he who is doing the desire, he who is bound to, he who is planted by the streams of living water that has the testimony of Yahushua Messiah and following his commands, that is the desire of his Father in the Shemaim. Nobody else is going. Many shall say to me in that day, Master, Master, have we not prophesied in your name? Prophesied what? And cast out demons in your name? And done many mighty works in your name? And then I shall declare to them, I never knew you. I was never intimate with you. Just like we saw about those trees planted by the streams of living water. Depart from me, you who work lawlessness. No testimony of Yahushua Messiah is lawless. Not keeping the commands is lawless. The two run hand in hand. Hey, look at this. They're covalent with each other. How about that? Let me make this phone call. I'll be right back. That's what you get for praying for someone, right? Okay, so back to this. Isaiah 64. I hope everyone got a nice break, right? Maybe you all got a cup of coffee. I hope so, or tea, right, Steph? Tea? Isaiah 64, 1-12. Oh, that you would tear the heavens open. You would rend them open, Yahuwah Elohim. Come down, that mountains will shake before you. When is he coming? When are the mountains going to shake? Was going to put one on the mountain, one in the sea. As when fire burns twigs, as fire makes water boil. What makes water boil? Is it a wave? To make your name Yahuwah, because he is the breath. That's what the enemy's trying to take out, is the breath and everything that's been breathed in the water of life by changing the spin on the oxygen and the spin so that the leaves all die, so that the trees are gone, so that we can't be trees. Who's he after? Are you a tree? To make your name known to your adversaries. How you like that? So that nations tremble before you, and every knee will bow and every tongue will confess that Yahuwah, who came to rescue us, is the King of kings, the high priest, and the greatest prophet that planted his seed in the earth that the trees might take it up in their strong roots as nutrients. When you did awesome matters which we did not expect, you came down. Mountains did shake before you. That was on Sinai. Is it going to happen again? It's going to happen. Did I whisper that? It's going to happen again. And the adversary would love nothing more than to get his hands on time to try and do something about the situation, I guess, because he still thinks he can. And so do those who are under his influence, that are seed of their father, the devil. Since the beginning of the ages, they have not heard, nor perceived by ear, nor has I seen any Elohim besides you who acts for those who endure, who wait for him. Stay rooted. Stay grounded. You shall meet him who rejoices and does righteousness. Right? Are you trees got righteous trees? Trees of righteousness got righteous fruit? What's going on? Who remembers you and your ways. See, you were wroth when we sinned in them a long time. And should we be saved? We don't even deserve it. Anyone tells you they're going in the first resurrection, they know they are for sure. They're a liar and the truth ain't in them. And all of us has become as one unclean, right? Because what? And all our righteousnesses are as filthy rags. If you're sucking up and breathing out anything other than the water of life and the breath of Yahuwah Elohim, it's in and of ourselves. And the enemy says, it's all about you. And we make it all about us. And we try to sit as Elohim on the throne of our own lives, just like he wants to sit on the throne of Elohim. And all of us fade like a leaf, right? Keep that up. Keep up the crookednesses. And our crookedness is like wind, because wind blows off dead, dry leaves, necrotic leaves that are going to be dried up and dead. The wind's going to blow them right off, taking us away. And there is no one who calls on your name, Yahuwah, who stirs himself up to be strengthened in you. For you have hidden your face from us and have consumed us because of our crookednesses. And now, O Yahuwah, you are our Father, we are the clay, and you are our potter. What right do you have to say to the potter, what'd you make me like this for? And we are all work of your hand. Do not be wroth, O Yahuwah, or remember crookednesses forever. See, please look, all of us are your people. You're either going to be the bride or the seed of the bride. Come on now. If you ain't first resurrection material, you better hope we're second. If we're not first resurrection, let me rephrase that because I don't. If we're not first resurrection material, we better hope we're second. Your set-apart cities have become a wilderness. Zion has become a wilderness. Jerusalem a waste. It is a waste. That was why not one stone was left upon another in that temple, because it was corrupt. And we are now going to be the living stones in the new Jerusalem that comes down from the Shemaim. When he goes into that land, when the truth goes into the land and wipes out everything that's untrue, and those that are his go in behind him, then it will no longer be a waste place. Our set apart and comely house, where our fathers praised you, has burned up with fire, and all that we treasured has become ruin. In view of all this, would you restrain yourself, O Yahuwah? Would you keep silent and afflict us beyond measure? Okay, it's a good thing he's going to cut that time short, because none of us would be able to stand it, be able to go no more. There wouldn't be any fun or anything left. All right, come on, Mr. Mouse. Jeremiah 17, 1 to 13. And Yehuda sinned worse than her little sister. Don't think that we all haven't sinned. But I can tell you one thing. The real tribe of Yehuda that's going to be in the first resurrection, that's got 12,000 of the 144,000, will have the testimony of Yahushua Messiah and will be following the commands, none added, none taking away, and teaching everybody else to do those commands with none added and none taken away, and teaching them the testimony of Yahushua Messiah. So if there's someone that you say is the tribe of Yehuda that's going to be in this, come together in this first resurrection, that ain't doing those things, guess what? They ain't the tribe of Yehuda. They are the SOS, and everyone involved with them. You might be able to find that in Revelation chapter 2, chapter 3, the SOS. The sin of Yehuda is written with the pen of iron. Eek. Wonder if it was elemental iron that came out of somebody's cell. No, I'm kidding. Kidding. Engraved with the point of a diamond. I wonder if it was nano. On the tablet of their heart, right? I think it's going to be in the center of their brain. And on the horns of your slaughter places. And while their children remember their slaughter places and their Asherim, Ishtar, poles, Ishtar, Asherim, Ashtaroth, and by the spreading trees on the high hills, I don't know, maybe they got a holiday tree. Did I just say that? My mountain in the field I give as... Am I in the right chapter? Yeah. My mountain in the field I give as plunder your wealth. All your treasures, your high places of sin throughout all your borders. And you, even of yourself, shall let go of your inheritance which I gave you. Yehuda let go of the inheritance that was given to them. Can they come back? Did we let go? Of course we did. We all got they sinned worse than their little sister. And I shall make you serve your enemies in a land which you have not known. Babylon. Babylon's everywhere. And the whore is amongst, not the whore that rides on top of it's on the beast that's on the sea. She's amongst the sea. She's in the sea of people. Those that left are going to be healed. They got sucked in. Maybe they didn't take the mark. Maybe they got sucked in, but yet now they made the millennial reign, and is there still a chance? Yeah, that water of life can heal them. Let's go out and catch them. We better be catching them now. We need to pull people out of the fire, even hating the garment that's defiled with the flesh. And I shall make you serve your enemies in a land which you have not known, for you have kindled a fire in my displeasure which burns forever. Thus says Yahuwah, cursed is the man who trusts in man and makes flesh his arm. Right? Are we going to trust in all this stuff they got going on? Are we going to trust in Yahuwah and what he breathed and make our roots go deep? Suck up the living water like trees. And whose heart turns away from Yahuwah. I don't believe that. What's pumping throughout us? The blood that contains the DNA of life? Oh, we forgot to look at that with the tree. Oh, such is life. For he shall be like a shrub in the desert, and not see when good comes, and shall inhabit the parched places in the wilderness, a salt land that is not inhabited. Blessed is the man who trusts in Yahuwah, who clings to him, who trusts in him, whose roots are deep. For he shall be like a tree. Oh, wait. One of the words in here, I'm not going to go to it because I've got something I've got to do before sunset. Imagine that. One of the words that it's an adopted word of this word tree, ots, intimacy, to be on the trail and not go to the right or to the left or whichever way I'm supposed to be going here, but go straight down the narrow path into the Holy of Holies to the wedding one day, is the bone. Inside the bone is where the DNA is made and where the blood comes out in the cells of the blood and it goes through the body. Why do you think he wants to have the same frequency as the oxygen in the blood? Because there's life in the blood. What's going to heal us? Oh, for he shall be like a tree planted by the waters, which spreads out its roots strong by the river, and does not see when the heat comes. Well, I wonder what's going to heat it up. I wonder if it's a wave. And his leaf shall be green, not necrotic. And in the year of drought he is not anxious. Why? Because he's got the word in him. He's been drinking up from the living water, and it's in him. Nor does he cease from yielding good fruit. The land may be dry and desolate, but are we like a tree planted by streams of living water? The heart is crooked above all, and desperately sick. Who shall know it? Not if we have him as the authority that's inside of us. The heart of man is crooked above all. But if we take on the heart is lam bait, the authority inside. If we take him as the authority inside, like a tree would have the water going up through its roots and up through its system and out through its leaves, along with the nutrients that are in the ground, which is the elder, the taw. That pure language. That one's not desperately sick. It's our own. And the enemy knows that. And he don't want that oxygen to get to your heart. I, Yahuwah, search the heart. I try the kidneys and give every man according to his ways, according to the fruit of his deeds. Actions, they speak louder than words. And our actions better match our words. As a partridge that broods but does not hatch, so is he who gets riches but not by right. It leaves him in the midst of his days, and at the end he is a fool. Are you going to go for this new money system? Because it ain't going to be right to take the mark of the beast to get into this new money system. An esteemed throne, exalted from the beginning, is the place of our set-apart place. Are we trees planted by the living waters that come out from underneath that throne? Kodesh. There it is. It's right there. How beautiful is that? Oh, Yahuwah, the expectation, of Yisrael, of those who would rule with, that's our hope. He is our hope. He is our expectation. To be one with him. To receive the crown of life. To eat from the tree of life. He is the reward of the priesthood. All who forsake you are put to shame. Those who depart from me shall be written in the earth, just like they were when he wrote in the sand. What did he write in the sand? The names of those who were departed from him, and they were worried about putting the blame on they all had their own sin and were departed from him. He told her, don't go no more, don't sin no more. He said, don't go sin no more. Because they have forsaken Yahuwah, the fountain of living waters. What a beautiful picture. Psalm 1:1. Obviously, we had to go here. Right? If you're not reading along with us on our Facebook page, Hand to the Plow, P-L-O-U-G-H, Hand to the Plow on Facebook. We read through the scriptures every year. We haven't been doing as much word studies on the Facebook page like this, but you got this now. Blessed is the man. You guys have been looking at me for this long? This ain't cool. Let me put the program up here. Good grief. Blessed, righteous, and straight, pressing that which was from the beginning, is the man who shall not be opposite of El in his walk. He shall not walk in the counsel of the wrong. And that counsel comes from the same child root as the word tree. It's just got a hay. I think it's got a hay on the end. I could be wrong about that, and we're not going there to look. Whose counsel you walking in? Who's giving you advice? Who's making the decisions in your community? Don't walk in that. Maybe they're fake trees with little boxes on them. They look like trees. They look like sheep, but they're wolves. They got sheep clothing on. They look like a tree. Where is that all coming from? The enemy himself. And shall not stand in the path of sinners, and shall not sit in the seat of scoffers. But what's his delight in? What's his desire? What's his pleasure? To please who? His delight is in the Torah, the Torot, in the Torah of Yahuwah Elohim. And he meditates on this Torah, this Torot, the testimony of Yahushua Messiah, and his commands day and night. For he shall be as a tree. Are you a tree? It says right here we're trees. And we're going to be trees. If we're kings and priests in the first resurrection, we're going to be those trees planted by those streams of waters. It's just a picture. Are you going to be a tree planted by the water? Of course not. It's a picture. If we're meditating on this day and night, we are these trees that are planted by the rivers of living water that yield good tov fruit in its season, not rotten fruit, whose leaf does not wither, whose leaf does not fade. And whatever he does prospers. The wrong that have left the correct path, or never were on the correct path, remember, tree people, intimate with the path they're supposed to be on, not right, not left, straight on the path. The wrong are not so, but are like the chaff, which the wind blows away. Therefore the wrong shall not rise in the judgment. Rise to what? Rise to life. Yeah, they're going to be judged. They're going to rise to judgment. They ain't going to rise to life. Nor the sinners in the congregation of the righteous. They will not be in the congregation, the assembly. Interesting word for congregation of the righteous. For Yahuwah knows the way of the righteous, but the way of the wrong comes to naught. It's all going to come to naught. We're going to be pressured and pressed and try to kill the trees off. Try to kill you off. It's going to happen. What did he come to do? Steal, kill, and destroy. You and all creation. Me and all creation. Revelation 21, 1-8. I think there's one more after this. Oh, praise Yah. Two more. Just two more. Two she. Oh, wait, that's one she. Not two. One. Two more. Revelation 21, 1-8. And I saw a renewed heaven and a renewed earth. As the heaven rolled up like the scroll, and the earth was circumcised with fire. Because it kills the DNA that's in the bones of the wrong tree. That's in the bones. Imagine that 60 gigahertz affects blood and oxygen. It didn't occur to me about the blood just a little bit, till just a little bit ago. Imagine that. For the former heaven and the former earth had passed away. Well, praise Yah, we're done with that. And the sea is no more. Because all the water is cleansed and clean, and the sea of people that the whore which is among, they ain't no more. It's gone. Is there really a real sea no more? I know there's a river coming out from underneath the throne still. And I, Yohanan, saw the set-apart city, the renewed Jerusalem, of which we are living stones in that wall, coming down out of the heaven from Elohim, prepared as a bride adorned. She's cleansed and adorned for her husband. It's the city of truth. 'Cause ain't no lie of the truth. And I heard a loud voice from the Shemaim saying, See, the booth of Elohim is with men, and he shall dwell with them, and they shall be his people, and Elohim himself shall be with them, and be their Elohim. It's not that he's not with us during the millennial reign, but we're not to this point where the new Jerusalem comes down like a bride, because we have to get through the millennial reign in order to get to the marriage supper of the Lamb. There's no marriage supper of the Lamb till the bride's and is finished, and the seed of them have finished coming forth, for that the second death had no power over them. And Elohim shall wipe away every tear from their eyes, and there shall be no more death, nor mourning, nor crying. What a promise that is. And there shall be no more pain, praise Yah, for the former have passed away, because the whore is gonzo. And he who was sitting on the throne said, See, I make all new. Well, praise Yah. And he said to me, Write, for these words are true and trustworthy. They are the truth. Everything from the El to the Taw that causes the likeness to continue in between, the blood to continue. Only the blood that is pure. It ain't affected by none of this stuff that's going on. The blood of Yahushua Messiah. I guarantee that. And he said to me, not that that blood's really there, it's a picture. It's all a picture. Don't take it out of context and blow it up and say I've lost my marbles. It's just a picture. And he said to me, It is done. I am the El to the Taw, the beginning to the end. To the one who thirsts. You thirsty? You like a tree? You need to get your roots deep? Is that what you want? If you're thirsty, I shall give you the fountain of water of life without payment. The one who overcomes shall inherit all this, and I shall be his Elohim, and he shall be my son. But as for the cowardly, the untrustworthy, the abominable, and murderers, and those who whore, and the drug sorcerers, and the idolaters, and all false, because no lie is of the truth, their part is in the lake which burns with sulfur and fire, which is the second death. We don't want that to have power over. Who are these people here? I want to be a tree strongly rooted and grounded by the rivers of living water. Then we get to go there. Revelation 22. And he showed me a river of water of life. Right? Clear as crystal. Right? Coming from the throne of Elohim, and also even the Lamb, because Elohim is the fullness of the word that he wrapped himself in flesh in, that was on that stake. Acts 20:28. He shed the blood of that flesh for us. There's not two of them. One chi. One chi. Some of you know what that movie's that from. It's my favorite movie. And I know it's a rare occasion I watch a movie. I haven't watched it in a long time because I don't really watch movies. Like ever. Anymore. Years and years. One chi. He's one chi. In the middle of its street and on either side of the river was the tree of life. There's the ultimate tree of life. There's the ultimate seed, which bore 12 fruits, each tree yielding its fruit every month. No. Its tree yielding each month the different fruits. And the leaves of the tree were for the healing of the nations. That's what they've always been for. Can't get to the tree of life right now in this condition. Can't get through that way. It's a flaming sword pouring out its contents. You ain't getting through there. We're a picture of the trees after the seed of the tree. Of the tree of life. Are we the tree of life? Of course we're not the tree of life. Are we planted seed that's after that? Like, the seed's been planted in the earth. Are we the seed of Yahuwah Elohim? Come on. Of course we are, in many other pictures throughout the scripture. And no longer shall there be any curse. Oh, did you see that? And no longer shall there be any curse. And the throne of Elohim, also even the Lamb, shall be in it. There ain't two thrones. There ain't two kings sitting on the throne. It's one throne, one chi. And his servants shall serve him. Isn't that interesting? And they shall see his face, and his name shall be upon their foreheads. The breath of life will be at the forefront of their minds, as it's been at the forefront of their mind right now. It's the forefront of their mind. They've been marked all the way through the millennial reign, and it's on their forehead. It's at the forefront of their mind. Why? Because the seed that was planted inside of them took deep roots. Whether it's a picture of a tree or a wheat harvest or what have you, it took deep root. And they were speaking off the breath. And fed the fruit of their works. Come on now. And night shall be no more, and they shall have no need of a lamp or the light of the sun, because they're walking in Elohim, because he is the lamp that lights the path. Because Yahuwah Elohim shall give them light, because he is the light. And they shall reign forever and ever, and ever and ever and ever and ever. And he said to me, these words are trustworthy and true. They are firm and in their proper order. And Yahuwah Elohim of the set-apart prophets has sent his messengers to show his servants what has to take place with speed. I'm telling ya. See, I am coming speedily. Blessed is he who guards the words of the prophecy of the book, of the whole book, not just the book of Revelation. This word, this is the. And I, Yohanan, saw and heard these, and when I heard, I saw, I fell down to worship before the feet of the messenger who showed me these things. And he said to me, see, do not. Don't bow down to no one else, even if he comes as a messenger of Yahuwah Elohim, and he really is. And definitely don't bow down to the ones that are of this other system. They don't wolf in sheep's clothing. Got no rotten fruit. Don't bow down to none of them. Or anybody who is walking along the way. Come on. Fear Yahuwah Elohim and guard his commands. And of your brothers the prophets, and of those who are guarding the word of the book, the whole book, worship Elohim. And he said to me, do not seal the words of the prophecy of the book, because the time is near. Do you think this is near time? How near do you think this is to time? Can you see the season? I'm not saying we know the day and the hour of any of this. The shenanigans they're going to pull are of Yahuwah. But we can certainly see the signs of the time. Anybody thinks this is going back to normal? I got some murky swampland that doesn't go out into any type of river of living water. I got some murky swampland for sale. Okay, maybe I don't. Maybe that's the wrong analogy. I guess I used to use it all the time. But come on. Look around. Let him who does wrong, let him do more wrong. And they do. Let him who is filthy, let him be more filthy. And they are. He who is righteous, let him be more righteous. We need to step up our game. He who is set apart, let him be more set apart. We need, again, to step up our game in righteousness and kodeshness. And see, I am coming speedily. Yeah, right? May not seem speedily enough to us. And my reward is with me to the tree of life, to the crown of life. To him as your husband, to be one with him, to be like him in his revelation. The whole 9 yards. To give each according to his work, the fruit of his work. I am the El to the Ta, the beginning to the end, the first to the last. Blessed are those who are doing his commands, who the fruit of their works are not of their own righteousness, but they're of the righteousness of Elohim. What kind of fruit we got? Hanging on our tree. So that the authority shall be theirs unto the tree of life, because we come from the seed of life. Not from an uncorruptible seed, I mean, not from a corruptible seed, but from an uncorruptible seed. Spit that out of my mouth. And to enter through the gates into the city. But outside are the dogs, and let me tell you, they ain't nothing but dirty dogs. And those who enchant with drugs, or some other form of enchantment, and they enchant. And those who whore, and the murderers, and the idolaters, and all who love and do falsehood, no lie is of the truth, and these lies are nothing but divination and witchcraft. I, Yahuwah, who came to rescue you, have sent my messenger to witness to you these in the assemblies. I am the root and the offspring of Dawid. He's the root and the offspring. He's all of it. One chi, the bright morning star, and the spirit, the Ruach HaKodesh, the breath of Yahuwah, the wind of man, the wind of Elohim, the spirit and the bride, the wind, the oxygen coming off the leaves of the tree that come from the bride, those that are going to be the bride. What do they say? Come, Bo, come. Fill that void with all things Yahuwah Elohim, come. And he who hears, let him say, do you hear? Get rooted and say, come. Come. And he who thirsts, come. And he who desires it, take of the water of life without paying. You can't give anything for it. I can't remember who that sorcerer was that wanted to pay for it. Can't think of his name off the top of my head. You can't pay for it. It's a gift. The price has already been paid. For I witness to everyone hearing the words of the prophecy of the book. If anyone adds to the words of this book, Elohim shall add to him the plagues that are written in the book. They're playing out right before our eyes. They played out aforetime. If anyone takes away from the words of the book of the prophecy, Elohim shall take away his part from the book of life, and out of the set apart city which are written in the book. Not this Revelation. I mean, is it written about in Revelation? Sure. It's written about all through the book. Don't add, don't take away. Own righteousness is as filthy rags. He that bears witness of these says, yes, I am coming speedily, and he will. It might not be speed like we want speed, but he's going to come speedily, just like this has come speedily that we're going through. Amen. The favor of our Master Yahushua Messiah be with the set apart ones. Amen. And we ask you, Yahuwah Elohim, that through these trials and these tribulations that we remain rooted and grounded as strong trees by the rivers of living water, bringing forth and taking up into us the DNA, the El to the Taw, because you are the El to the Taw, the beginning to the end, and taking that up into our trees and through the branches and out the leaves, that we might breathe the healing and the Spirit and the bride say, come, come. Hallelujah. In Yahuwah's name. Hallelujah.